Wait, so you really want to use my drawings and characters as the basis for an entire video game? Really? Wendy looked puzzled as she placed a sliced fruit plate in front of Olivia. Like, all the backstories I came up with too? She couldn't believe anybody would be interested in her ideas or doodles, let alone for a game. Let's try it first. Olivia picked up a piece of fruit from the plate. I think your story is quite interesting. Oh. Wendy still felt that it was a little strange. Relax. Olivia ate her fruit and said, whether a game player wants to play it or not has little to do with the way the characters look, if you're worried about that. Unless a fan of a famous game designer wants to play just to enjoy the scenery or something. But even if it is a famous piece of work, if the game is not done well, very soon no one will play it. Basically, though, I think with your characters and our ability to come up with fun levels and the right amount of publicity, it could be a real hit. Okay, Wendy nodded. That's good. All right. Olivia looked at the time on her cell phone. I should probably get home soon. I told my family I just had to meet with Francis and then stop by and see you. Huh? Don't you want to stay for a little while longer? Wendy saw that Olivia was about to leave and stood up to persuade her to stay. No, I haven't finished reading all the notes I missed in chemistry and physics. I feel like those will be really difficult, so I'll probably need to study them for a while. Olivia spread her hands and shrugged. How about... Wendy suddenly thought of an idea. Why don't we call Millie over and the three of us study together? She was feeling really social and didn't want to be alone. I also have some stuff I don't understand. But it is already afternoon. You can't learn for long even if you study here, right? Olivia looked at the time on her phone again. What if you stay here overnight? Wendy said. My mother said she will not be back tonight because she's working a grave shift at the deli, and your mom is also working overtime and said that she will not be home until super late tonight. Ooh, okay, Olivia replied, understanding why Wendy was so eager to have others over. She didn't like the idea of being alone, especially after her last place had break-ins. Then we should tell Millie to come over, and Millie can sleep in the same room as you, Olivia suggested. She thought for a moment and said, tomorrow, if the three of us finish what we need to learn tonight, we can go shopping, maybe. Okay. Wendy clapped her hands. I will call Millie. After Wendy dialed Millie's number and told her the plan, Millie agreed to come over. When Millie arrived, the three of them gossiped and hung out while eating snacks for a while before starting to study. Time passed very quickly, and by the time they recovered their senses, it was already almost 7 o'clock. Why is there no food in the fridge? Olivia asked. She originally wanted to cook a few dishes for dinner. These past few days, I've been so busy with school, Wendy said, and my mom is always on night shifts, and your mom has been working overtime lately at the accountant's office because it's been tax season. And then I go to school early in the morning every day, so nobody's had time to do a big shopping trip for food. Besides, the dishes I cook are not very edible. Wendy started to laugh. So I've been mostly buying frozen dinners and canned soups. Oh, that makes sense. Then we should order takeout. Millie thought for a while and said, I want to eat pizza. I'm always up for pizza. Olivia took out her phone and dialed a number. Are you both good with the 4-cheese pizza and the Meat Lovers Supreme pizza? The three of us should be able to eat it all. Yes. Wendy nodded. I think I have an e-discount voucher at that pizza place. Let me book it. Millie took out her phone and ordered the pizzas. If there's nothing in the fridge, what do you want to eat before we go shopping? Oh. Millie's words made the three fall into deep thought. We still have some fruits. Wendy thought for a while and said, Then let's go out to buy something after dinner. Olivia decided. The supermarket isn't too far away, and together we can carry stuff back. Okay, the other two agreed. Soon the pizza was delivered. After the three of them gorged themselves, there were still 3 small pieces left that they could not eat. They might as well leave it for tomorrow's outing. After dinner, they went to the supermarket to buy food and found that it was raining. It wasn't super powerful rain, but it looked like it would not stop soon. So after buying their groceries, the three of them stood in front of the window at home and looked at the continuous rain outside. They started to feel uneasy. Would the rain fall until tomorrow? Would it interrupt their shopping plans? Wait here for a second. Wendy mysteriously ran back to her room. In the living room, Olivia and Millie looked at each other and shrugged. Millie, I need you to help me with some science and math questions I had. Olivia suddenly remembered the difficulties she encountered while studying and reading through her notes at home. Okay, Millie nodded. I didn't bring my math textbook with me, but I'll just use Wendy's. Olivia returned to the dining table, where they were studying earlier, and picked up Wendy's book to flip through. It's this question. Let me take a look. Millie took the book in Olivia's hand and said, This question, oh, okay. So you have to remember the calculus formulas we learned. Taking out a piece of draft paper, Millie began to calculate and explain the maths equations answer to Olivia step by step. Do you understand? I think I understand. Olivia nodded her head. While the two were talking about the questions, Wendy walked into the room again and put her hands behind her back mysteriously. Look what I've done. What? Millie and Olivia looked at Wendy. Here. Wendy spread out the things she had prepared in front of her. She showed her friends some caricatures she had drawn of her friends. I made some drawings of our faces. Olivia looked at Wendy's drawings. Wendy indeed had the talent to draw, and very accurately grasped their charm and characteristics. Wendy hung the drawings on the windowsill. Figured maybe we could use something to brighten up the space, since it's so gloomy outside. You're so cute, Wendy, Olivia smiled. I just figured it'd be cute, Wendy shrugged. Anyway, let's continue to study. Don't we still want to go shopping tomorrow? Let's get to sleep early tonight. Okay, the other two nodded. The three of them took turns showering and then went to bed when it was almost 10 o'clock. The next day, they found when they woke up that the weather was still very gloomy. Oh, man! Wendy leaned over to look out the window and observed the gray skies with a sad face. Yeah, Millie sighed and looked at her phone before adding, the weather forecast shows that the rain will come again later this afternoon. So maybe not the best day to go shopping, but hey, at least we gotta hang out for a little together, right? True, Wendy said, though she was sad her friends would be leaving soon now that the weather was terrible. I should probably head back to my dad's, Olivia said, right on cue. When Olivia returned to her father's mansion, it was still raining. She looked at the rain that was knocking on the car window and smiled. She laughed slightly to herself, thinking of her friend's jokes from the night before. Miss Johnson is in a very good mood. Morris Bratt heard Olivia's soft laughter and said, Is it because Monica is back? Olivia's smile disappeared after she heard this. Not exactly. What did Monica coming back have to do with her? To be precise, if Monica did not come back for the rest of her life, Olivia's mood would be even better. The car came to a stop in front of the massive front entrance, and a maid raised an umbrella to welcome Olivia back to the mansion. After entering the living room, Olivia brushed the water stains on her sleeves and saw Monica leaning on the sofa in the living room reading a book. This was the first time she saw Monica reading on the sofa in the living room ever. Usually, it was Liv who would feel that her own bedroom was too damp and would come to the living room to read. Seeing Olivia come back, Monica smiled and greeted, Olivia, you're back? Yes, Olivia replied. Last night you were the only one not at home. Grandfather even asked about you, Monica said. Oh, Olivia replied and walked to the stairs. She did not get through to Michael's phone yesterday, so she called the landline at home to tell them that she would not be back until today. She told the maid who answered that she was staying at her classmate's house, but she did not know if the maid who answered the phone had clearly relayed the message to her father. It was possible the maid only told Rachel, and Rachel chose not to tell Michael at all. I've explained to Grandpa on your behalf that you went to your classmate's house to study last night. Monica smiled and replied, Yesterday, when the maid answered your phone call, I happened to be nearby. What a coincidence, and how gracious of you, Olivia smiled. This kind of opportunity for Monica to make herself look kind and thoughtful would give Michael a good impression of Monica being sensible. That's right, there are many coincidences in the world, Monica said. She paused. Olivia felt that Monica was a little different. If it was in the past, Monica would have definitely shouted, I have shown mercy and helped you. Hurry up and thank me." Olivia put her hand on the handrail of the stairs and turned her head to ask, "Was it fun being on the West Coast?" "It was very fun. Very fun." Monica smiled and replied, "It seemed like she had to learn Olivia's move, and now she had made the right move." Compared to Olivia, she had lived with Michael for a longer amount of time, and she had been in this upper-class society for longer. The only way Olivia, a person who had only broken into society just barely, could replace her was if Michael determined he wanted her to. So since that was the case, she would completely copy Olivia's actions, and over time her father would see that all things being equal, it was Monica who should inherit the family fortune and businesses. Since she had been there longer and had more connections, she would have the advantage. "That's good." Olivia looked at Monica's smile and felt a familiar feeling. She could see what Monica was doing after reading her thoughts. So with doubt in her heart, Olivia walked up the stairs and returned to her room. It was raining outside, and this damp room of hers made her feel uncomfortable. Olivia removed the moisture from the air with a dehumidifier and sat down. Living in such a room, Olivia felt things were dreary any time it rained. After sending a text message to Millie and Wendy that she had gotten home, Olivia sat in front of the desk and opened the small notebook that she had used to draw in and write down her thoughts. After Monica came back this time, she had changed a little. She could not tell where she had changed, but she could clearly feel that Monica had become more conniving and troublesome. She searched the memories of her previous life in her mind and used a pen to record and draw her thoughts in the notebook bit by bit. She remembered that in her previous life, there was a donation drive in her class around this time. She donated thousands of dollars at that time because Pamela convinced her that she should do so, since her family had so much money, and Pamela reminded her how charitable and kind she was. But then Pamela Cox used the drive as an opportunity to get others to donate more too, and to flaunt and encourage the whole class to donate, making Pamela the center of attention because she became the donation drive's unofficial poster child. At that time, Olivia felt rather embarrassed. She only wanted to do something good, but Pamela's attention-seeking ways meant that Pamela was constantly using the amount Olivia had donated to shame other students into donating more. Not everyone's family was as rich as the Johnson family, and it was even more impossible for them to be as generous as her to spend thousands of dollars in one go. But Pamela convinced everyone to donate more money than they originally wanted to donate, just to keep up. Gradually, people felt that Olivia somehow was deliberately showing off. Some felt that she was intentionally putting on airs by donating so much. Some felt that she was using this as an excuse to make a name for herself. There were even students from the other classes who were pointing fingers at her, whispering that she was rich and heartless. She clearly had so much money, yet she only donated a few $1,000s. And everyone started to turn on Olivia, even though it was Pamela all along who paraded around how much Olivia had donated. Liv would have been perfectly happy anonymously donating to help a charity. During that period of time, she lived a very painful life. She clearly had good intentions and wanted to do something good, but it became her shackles. After that happened, over a long weekend, Pamela brought her to meet Mark DeLillo. On the first day they all hung out, it was the three of them who went out together. But the next 2 days, Olivia and Mark went out alone. After Pamela told Mark about Olivia's issues with her classmates over the donation drive, Mark's comforting words made Olivia feel much better. Perhaps it was because of that she had started to have a good impression of Mark. Why was I so stupid? Olivia scratched her head in frustration, thinking back to that time. Now it seemed that this was clearly Pamela deliberately playing a big game of chess back then. Olivia's phone on the table vibrated. Olivia thought that it was Wendy or Millie, but after she answered the call from the caller ID blocked number, she heard the voice of a boy on the other end. "Hello, Olivia." Olivia's knuckles were a little white as they wrapped around her cell phone. When she heard the voice on the other end of the call, a trace of hatred unconsciously appeared in her eyes. After blocking the microphone with one hand and taking a deep breath, Olivia asked, even though she knew the answer, Hello, may I ask who this is?
It's me.
On the other side of the phone, the boy's voice was somewhat reserved and nervous.
Mark DeLillo? Do you remember? Mark from the National Elite Student Competition?
Mark? Olivia thought for a while and said, I don't remember, sorry. Mark almost threw his phone away. This witch broke his arm, making it impossible for him to continue participating in the National Elite Student Competition. He was determined to win the #1 mathematics student competition, and all his efforts were in vain because of her. And now she still dared to say that she did not remember him? Oh, wait. Olivia curled her lips. I actually think I remember now Mark, right? The one who came to our school to take the exam.
Yes, that was me.
Mark steadied his voice and said, How's your arm? Olivia's eyes flashed a touch of satisfaction. Is it still okay?
I made it to the hospital in time, so there were no major problems.
Mark's eyes flashed slightly.
Do you have some time? I would like to meet up with you.
Meet up with me? Olivia paused for a moment. No need. Why should we meet?
Consider it me thanking you,
Mark said.
I heard from Pamela that you called 911 when I got injured.
You're welcome, it's no big deal. Olivia shrugged. Mark initially thought that Olivia must have felt guilty for hurting him. Now, not only did he not blame her, but he also said he wanted to thank her. If it were anyone else, they would be in fear and tears of gratitude. Why did Olivia not seem to know how to be grateful? Did you have anything else you wanted to say? Olivia asked as she looked at her nails. Mark felt speechless. He had practiced this many times, but he did not even need to say a word. Even if he used it, it did not achieve the effect he expected. He lowered his head as a very bad feeling welled up in his heart. His severe injury seemed to have been in vain. They weren't connecting over it, but he was not willing to give up. If there's nothing else, I'll hang up, Olivia said.
Wait a minute.
Mark stopped Olivia. What do you want? Olivia frowned slightly, growing impatient.
I will go to New York City to find you next weekend.
Mark decided to directly tell her his purpose. We're not familiar with each other, so why would you do that? Olivia replied. Also, your arm is injured. It's not convenient for you to come to New York.
But...
Mark wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Olivia. I really have to go, she said. Then she hung up. On the other end of the line, Mark heard the beeping sound of the phone, and angrily threw his phone onto the bed in front of him. This damn Olivia, he thought. I will never give up, though. He felt the Johnson family owed the DeLillo family. Thinking this, he picked up his phone again, which fell from the bed to the ground, and dialed a number in his contact list.
Hello?
The girl who answered the phone sounded surprised but excited.
Mark, why did you suddenly call me? How's your arm? Is it better?
It's much better now. Thank you for your concern. I called you because I wanted to apologize to you. Mark deliberately slowed down his voice. Pamela, I'm sorry.
Why are you apologizing to me?
Pamela was also stunned. I originally wanted to help you and Olivia reconcile, but I messed it up. You must have been scared to death at that time. Mark sighed. I'm really sorry.
No, it's not your fault.
Pamela felt warm.
It was Olivia who injured you. She was too impulsive, and I apologize on her behalf. This best friend of mine is good in everything except for her bad character. She must not have apologized to you, right?
Not only did she not apologize, but she also did not feel bad. Mark's mouth twitched. Then he regained his composure and said, It's fine, Pamela. Look, when you have time, I will go to New York City to see you. Once they reached the city, he would let Pamela contact Olivia, though he didn't tell her that part.
Come and see me?
Pamela was somewhat flattered he would specially come to the city to see her. Her face glowed slightly red. The corner of Pamela's mouth unconsciously rose up, but she suppressed the waves in her heart and said,
I have been a little busy recently.
She wanted to delay him a little. After all, he was a boy, so if she played hard to get, he would like her more. Yes, may I? Mark asked.
Sure,
Pamela answered. Okay, I will go to see you soon. Mark smiled and said, when the time comes, as my new guide in New York City, you have to show me around.
I will.
Pamela smiled and said,
when the time comes, I will find a few more interesting scenic spots to bring you to see. New York City still has a lot of places worth going to.
Thank you. When the time comes, you should invite Olivia out as well. We can all hang together.
What?
Pamela's smile froze.
Invite her?
There was no joy in her heart at all. Yes, aren't you two best friends? How can there be enmity between best friends? Mark smiled and said, it's all thanks to you guys calling an ambulance the other day that I'm okay. I want to treat you guys to a meal.
Okay.
Pamela did not directly reject the idea or say anything else. She and Olivia were not good friends at all. They had completely fallen out in class previously. How could she be invited now? But since things had already come to this point, Pamela could only take things one step at a time. When Mark heard Pamela agree, a touch of complacency arose in his heart. Even if Olivia did not see him, so what? He naturally had other ways to see Olivia. They were only just getting to know each other, so it was normal for Olivia to be wary of him. He firmly believed that with his charisma, he would still easily take care of a mere heiress of a rich family. He and Pamela chatted idly for a while before hanging up the phone. Once they ended their call, Pamela threw her phone to the side and rubbed her temples in distress. What should I do? She thought. Now that Mark was asking for help from the Johnson family, she had to claim that she was Olivia's best friend in order to make Mark want to get closer to her. It was still all right now. After all, Mark was in another city and did not know much about the matters in New York City. But what should she do when he came back to visit her? If Mark really came to New York City at that time, would she be able to hang out with Olivia? Now that Pamela had completely fallen out with her in class, she could not do anything to curry favor with Olivia. The more she thought about it, the more she felt a swelling pain in her temples. Pamela reached out her fingertip and gently rubbed them for a while. At this time, her mother knocked on the door and came in. Pamela, have you finished your homework? I finished it a long time ago. Pamela revealed a smile. Do you have a headache? Pamela's mother saw Pamela massaging her temples and walked over. She stretched out her hands and pressed Pamela's temples with the right amount of force. Is it better? Much better. Pamela closed her eyes and nodded. Your father went to that woman's place again today. Pamela frowned. Really? Yeah, Pamela, you must be a good person who is not to be looked down upon by others. It's important you save our family's legacy and do well in this world. A trace of sadness appeared between Pamela's mother's brows. I know. During dinner, Olivia was eating while listening to Monica talk about her trip to the West Coast with a smile. She felt that Monica's every frown and smile looked weird, but she didn't say anything. Monica, you seem to have grown up on your trip. Michael smiled in relief. It's good to learn more from your sister, isn't it? Olivia heard this and suddenly raised her head to look at Monica again. At this time, Monica was smiling and nodding her head. Only then did Olivia realize that it was no wonder that she felt Monica's expression was strange. It was a little familiar, but also a little strange. It turned out that she had been imitating Olivia all along. Olivia had a lot of things that are worth emulating and learning from, Monica said with a meaningful smile. Really? Olivia slightly tilted her head and smiled. I didn't realize that about myself. Of course. Monica also slightly tilted her head and smiled. You're outstanding. Ha ha. Olivia laughed heartily. Monica was really laying it on thick. Even if she learned from Liv, she could only learn from her appearance. She wanted to imitate her without experiencing everything that she had experienced. That would be impossible. Olivia, what are you laughing at? Monica asked. Nothing. Olivia waved her hand and put down her fork. I'm full. Enjoy your meal. Michael, did you find a tutor for Monica? Rachel looked at Michael. Monica will be going to school tomorrow to resume her lessons. Now is the critical moment in her high school career. Liv, what do you think? Michael looked at Olivia, interested in her opinion. I think it's just about finding a knowledgeable and good-tempered tutor." Seeing that Michael wanted to ask Olivia about this kind of thing, Rachel and Monica's eyes flashed with a touch of jealousy. Michael looked at Monica again. "Monica, this time I will find a teacher for you. You must not be so petty anymore, though." "I won't, I promise." Monica shook her head. "It was my bad before." "Michael," Grandpa Jack said suddenly, "come to my study later." "Okay, Dad," Michael answered respectfully. Olivia soon excused herself and went back to her room. Downstairs, Grandpa Jack went back to his study and put 2 leather envelopes sealed with fire lacquer on the desk. He frowned and fell into deep thought. After a while, a knock on the door made Grandpa Jack come back to his senses. "Come in." "Dad, what's wrong?" Michael closed the door of the study after entering. "Look at this." Grandpa Jack reached out his hand and knocked on the letter with his knuckles. "Okay." Michael walked to the desk and picked up the 2 letters on the table. They were sent to the same address. The cover of the letters had the same text. It was a very neat letter. "Is it a letter from Philadelphia?" "Yes." Grandpa Jack nodded. "Do you know who sent the letters?" Michael turned the envelope over and saw a fire seal. An ancient totem symbol appeared in front of him. Michael's heart skipped a beat. He even felt his throat tighten. The Kong family of Philadelphia. "Yes." Grandpa Jack frowned. "It looks like it's going to start again," he said ominously. "What are we going to do to prepare?" Michael asked. "You just need to be vigilant at our headquarters in New York. As for everything else, I have already instructed your brother on what to do." Grandpa Jack was very confident in his son Bruno. "All right." Michael felt a bitterness in his chest. "It has been 17 years. The last time I received this letter was almost exactly 17 years ago to the day." Grandpa Jack narrowed his eyes and seemed to recall the things that had happened a long time ago. It felt like they had been covered by the dust of time, yet each word was still vivid in his mind. "Dad, why are there 2 letters?" Michael picked up the 2 letters on the table with some doubt. The rules of the meeting had always been strict, and the number of people participating in the meeting was also very strict. The rules had never been changed in thousands of years, so why would there be 2 letters sent over now? "One letter is for the Johnson family." Grandpa Jack's eyes suddenly became cold. "The other one is for the Park family, Victoria's family." "Victoria?" Michael was stunned for a moment. The Park family went bankrupt 17 years ago, and their family members disappeared as well. How could there be a letter for their family? Who should I give it to? "It's for Liv." Grandpa Jack paused for a moment and said, "The leader of the Park family is missing and not dead. Since the Kong family sent the invitation to the Park family, it proves that perhaps Victoria's family is going to make a comeback."
Really? Michael's eyes lit up at his father's comment. This was a good thing. Grandpa Jack glanced at Michael. With just one glance, he had seen through all of Michael's thoughts. This son of his was too emotional. After being glared at by Grandpa Jack, Michael immediately lowered his head. After thinking for a moment, he asked, "Then should we tell Liv about this?" "Sure," Grandpa Jack said. "I've been observing her recently. I have to say that this child has her older family members' energy. She won't be a small figure in the future. I can tell she's going to do big things, so I'll take her along as a witness. If Olivia was a coward or an insensible person, he would not let her disgrace the Johnson family." All right. Michael was happy. After all, not everyone had the chance to go to such an occasion. Olivia would definitely gain something if she went with her grandpa. If she took this opportunity to get familiar with all the oldest, richest, major families in the United States, and to develop her connections, it would be very beneficial to her in the future. "We will leave in a few days' time. Go and book her plane ticket in advance," Grandpa Jack said. "I heard that the Kong family only invited a few major families. Both the Ballard and Phoenix families are not on the invitation list.
There must be something big going on. Tell her to be careful and be smart." "Yes," Michael solemnly agreed. This meeting was not a child's play. He really had to give Olivia a few words of advice. He must not let anything go wrong at this time. "Also, I heard that the Garibaldi family of San Francisco and the Shook family have sent people to New York City recently." Grandpa Jack slightly frowned. "On the eve of this important meeting, you have to pay more attention to their movements in the future." "All right," Michael responded and looked at Grandpa Jack with anticipation. "Dad, who will be attending the meeting this year from our family?" "From the Johnson family." Grandpa Jack thought for a while and said, "Your brother Bruno will go." Michael hesitated for a while and then nodded. "All right." Upon arriving early at school on Monday morning, Olivia was informed by her classmates that their teacher Adam had requested her presence in his office. Hearing this, she could already surmise the reason behind the summons. Setting her school bag down, she made her way to Adam's office. After a gentle knock on the door, she entered to find Adam seated at his desk, accompanied by one of her classmates. Olivia had only a faint recollection of this individual, knowing him primarily for his modest family background and his decent behavior in class. He held a mid-ranking position academically and seemed to be on track for a steady university admission after completing high school. In her previous life, Pamela had boasted about donating a substantial sum to this financially disadvantaged student in dire need of money. The subsequent attention from others proved overwhelming for the introverted boy, leading him to drop out of school before completing high school. Given this context, Olivia found herself feeling quite emotional about the situation. "Adam, you wanted to see me?" she inquired. "Yes." Adam beckoned Olivia closer and whispered, "Something happened at Zach Colson's home." "What happened at your home, Zach?" Olivia asked the boy standing to her left, his head bowed. Zach's ears turned slightly red as he felt a hint of embarrassment revealing the situation. However, he steeled himself, knowing that his family's well-being and reputation were at stake. Looking up at Olivia, he shared, "Well, on International Women's Day, my sister organized a female health checkup, and they discovered she has breast cancer. The doctor said it was caught early, and her condition is stable and treatable. There's a 70% chance of remission after surgery." Olivia nodded understandingly and inquired further, "I suppose that's good news, right?" Zach frowned. "My family is not well off. My sister's workplace contributed some funds, and the hospital is letting us do a payment plan. Donations were also made through GoFundMe from our church. All our relatives have borrowed money, but we're still like $50,000 short for the surgical treatment," Zach explained, clenching his lower lip. "My mom's employer didn't give her insurance, so my family had no other choice but to see if I could raise the money by doing a donation drive here at school, maybe. I'd planned to begin by raising funds within the class and then seek the school's assistance if needed," Adam explained, looking at Olivia. "I want you to coordinate the efforts within the class." Olivia took a moment to contemplate and then suggested, "What if we don't aim for the full 50,000? Zach and Adam looked stunned, trying to comprehend the implications of Olivia's offer. "I can provide the money," Olivia stated thoughtfully. "I'll lend it to you in my name, and you can repay me in the future. However, I understand that Zach is currently unable to contribute to his tuition and stuff due to his financial situation. If you were to receive assistance from the school, he might face judgment and criticism from others in the future." Zach was utterly stunned, unsure if he had heard correctly. $50,000 was no trifling amount. Presently, his family was already losing so much money. Even his sister's fiancé had called off their engagement upon hearing that his girlfriend was sick. Now, Olivia, who was neither a close family member nor a friend, was offering to lend him her money personally. "That's wonderful news," Adam sighed with relief, well aware of Olivia's wealth. She could easily afford this sum, and saving a life held far greater significance than any material possession. Adam turned to Zach and advised,
Make sure you repay her as soon as you are able." "Of course," Zach replied, his mind still reeling from the surreal turn of events. It almost felt like a dream. His family's overwhelming problem was suddenly resolved. "However, I have one condition," Olivia stated, locking eyes with Zach. "Please ensure that no one else knows about this loan, especially not from school. I've endured enough random insults from people. I'd rather this be between us. You understand." "Definitely. I promise I can do that," Zach assured, glancing at Adam. "Adam, may I borrow a pen and a piece of paper?" "Certainly." Adam retrieved some paper and a pen from his drawer, offering them to Zach. Zach seated himself and began to pen an IOU on the table. His excitement made his hands tremble, causing the writing to appear somewhat erratic. "Liv, this is a promissory note I'm giving you. I might not be able to repay it all at once, but I'll work diligently to earn money and return it to you bit by bit." "All right," Olivia replied with a hint of jest. "Since you don't have the money now, you can only return my capital. When you have the means, we can discuss the interest." Zach nodded fervently, his heart deeply touched by this act of kindness, vowing to remember it for the rest of his life. After school, Zach rushed straight to the hospital, where he conveyed the uplifting news to his sister, lying on the hospital bed, and their parents who were tending to her. "Is it really true?" His father could hardly believe it. "Your classmate is willing to lend us the money?" "Yes," Zach nodded affirmatively. "I also promise to repay it in the future." Zach's mother, seated beside the bed, wiped away her tears, expressing her admiration. "Wow, this classmate of yours is truly a good-hearted person." Curiosity mingled with doubt in Zach's sister's eyes as she lay on the bed, her face slightly pale. It was not due to paranoia, but genuine uncertainty about why someone who was merely her brother's classmate would come forward to help her. When she initially heard the distressing news that she had cancer, her first call was to her fiancé, seeking financial assistance for her treatment. His response shattered her heart. "50,000, with that kind of money, I can find someone better." Such a callous response left her feeling even more desolate than the doctor's diagnosis. Even her fiancé of 5 years displayed such heartlessness. She couldn't fathom why a mere acquaintance would step forward to save her. "Olivia is genuinely kind," Zach assured, trying to ease her doubts. "Don't dwell on it too much. The funds are now in place, and you just need to focus on preparing for the surgery." "That's right, sweetie," Zach's mother added, wiping her tears. "All we want is for you to live well." "Okay," Zach's sister Hannah nodded quietly, not saying much. "Zach, your mom and I will personally visit the school tomorrow to express our gratitude to your classmate," Zach's father declared solemnly. "No need for that. Liv specifically requested not to involve the school in this matter." Zach gestured dismissively, relaying Olivia's wishes. She prefers to keep a low profile at school. To him, it was hard to believe that someone seemingly unremarkable at school could readily produce $50,000. "Regardless, we must find a way to thank her personally," Zach's mother insisted with sincerity. All right, Zach agreed, understanding the importance of showing appreciation. The following day at school, Olivia told Zach, "The funds have been deposited, so they should be in your account soon." "Thank you," Zach replied, his eyes filled with gratitude and emotion. Olivia patted Zach's shoulder affectionately. "Take good care of your sister," she advised. "My parents want to meet you at the hospital today if you would come to join us," Zach mentioned. "They really wish to express their gratitude." "Oh, there's no need for that." Olivia felt a bit uneasy. "I know, but they really want to thank you," Zach insisted. "You are our family's savior." Olivia hesitated for a moment before finally agreeing. "All right, fine. I'll have my driver take us there after school." "Thank you." Zach smiled gratefully. When Olivia joined her friends further down the hall, Wendy asked, "Hey, where were you? Millie and I were looking for you. Do you want to come hang with us after school today?" Wendy began, but Olivia politely interrupted. I have something to attend to after school today, Olivia explained. What about tomorrow? Millie chimed in. Sure. Where are you going? Olivia inquired curiously. A cool new stationery store just opened up nearby, Wendy shared. All right, let's go together tomorrow, Olivia agreed, smiling. After school, Zach followed Olivia to the hospital in a car. Along the way, Zach seemed a bit reserved. Miss, we have arrived, Morris Pratt informed Olivia as he parked the car at the hospital entrance. Olivia glanced at the hospital's name, her brow slightly furrowing. It was Cox's Hospital, owned by Pamela's family. Despite Pamela's questionable character, her family's hospital was renowned for its exceptional tumor treatment, attracting patients from other cities as well. Zach led Olivia to the inpatient department. As they pushed open the door to the ward at the end of the corridor, they found Zach's family waiting inside. When they caught sight of Olivia, Zach's parents stood up to greet her. Dad, Mom, this is Olivia, Zach introduced. Liv, meet my parents. Hello, Liv said with a gentle smile. Please, have a seat. Zach's father quickly offered Olivia a chair. Sit here. Thank you, Olivia responded, feeling a bit uneasy in such emotional circumstances. As she settled into the chair, she found herself unsure of what to say. We so appreciate all you are doing for us, Zach's father said, his voice choked with emotion. Thank you. You're welcome. I know you need this right now, and I trust Zach will pay it back in the future. So why make things difficult on you if I have the means to step in and help? Olivia replied with a smile. Zach's mom appeared to be on the verge of saying something, but felt too nervous to find the right words. Thank you. We truly had no other options. Her voice trembled as she spoke, her eyes welling up with tears. The anxiety of not knowing if her daughter would survive each night had been tormenting her. This constant fear was unbearable, leaving her hair thinning and her nerves on edge. Mom, please don't cry, Zach consoled, also feeling deeply moved. Meanwhile, Zach's sister, Hannah Coulson, lying on the hospital bed, gazed at Olivia with a distant expression. She managed to utter, Thank you. You're welcome, Olivia nodded, smiling gently. However, as she looked at Hannah's face, she sensed a trace of unfamiliarity. At that moment, she perceived Hannah's thoughts, which startled her. Hannah lacked the will to live. She had given up and decided to await death at home. It was her family's determination not to surrender that led them to bring her to the hospital. Olivia's thoughts were interrupted as the door to the ward creaked open. A man in his 20s, about 6 feet tall, wearing a professional suit, entered the room. He had just finished work before arriving. What are you doing here? Zach stood up upon seeing the man, his fists clenched and his eyes filled with hatred. Get lost! You're not welcome here. Zach, there's no need for that, the man retorted, his expression showing slight displeasure. I'm here to give you money. Aaron, you... Hannah stared at the man, her formerly vacant eyes gradually filling with anger. Was Aaron actually trying to save her life? This is $15,000. Aaron casually tossed a paper bag onto Hannah's bed. What do you mean? Zach couldn't believe the person who had spoken so cruelly to his sister before would suddenly show this kindness now. The wedding venue we previously booked gave us our down payment back, and I got a refund from canceling the photographer too. Aaron explained, tugging at his suit. Consider this money as an investment in your health instead of our marriage. It's the least I can do. Aaron's words stunned everyone, and Olivia was particularly taken aback. Was he trying to humiliate Hannah or make her feel worse? It's not even the full amount I need, Hannah managed to choke out, her voice trembling. It became evident that her ex-fiancé Aaron was not here to show concern for her life and well-being. Well, anything helps, right? This display of shamelessness from Aaron was truly appalling. I'm doing this for your own good, Aaron asserted. This is when you need money the most. Get lost. Zach's anger flared, his eyes turning red. How could this person be so audacious? Take your money and leave. Who are you talking to? Aaron retorted, clearly angered by Zach. I'm warning you, watch your tone. Aaron. Hannah questioned him directly, her gaze unwavering. You never loved me, did you? How can you say that? Of course I love you. Why else would I propose to you? But I still need to live my life. Aaron replied, his smile bitter. $50,000 is not a small sum, and I already put so much money into the wedding plans, and not all of that can be refunded, and your chance of recovery is not even guaranteed. If I give you $50,000 and you don't survive, my money will go to waste. Didn't we already waste enough money on the wedding? I can't lose all my money on you. Such words stunned the three people in the ward. Hannah, you should also consider my situation. Aaron appeared helpless. I am still young. I cannot be burdened by you for the rest of my life. Get lost, Hannah shot back, her pale lips trembling slightly. Hannah, you must understand my struggles, Aaron explained, spreading his hands. I had no choice. Even my mother agreed with my decision. You are a good girl. Our entire family likes you. We all sympathize with what happened to you. My mother wanted to visit you yesterday, but she had a terrible headache and couldn't come. You know, she has a history of chronic headaches. Get lost, Hannah interrupted Aaron's words, shouting in anger. Get lost! Did you hear that? My sister asked you to get lost. Zach was also infuriated. Being naturally introverted and not skilled in confrontation, he was pushed to his limits, trembling with rage and unable to retaliate. Don't go too far, Aaron retorted, somewhat embarrassed. Even if you cause a scene, you won't achieve anything. Don't think that when Hannah's struggling, you can go to my workplace and create trouble, hoping for some kind of compensation. The $50,000 was returned to you because of our past. I didn't demand any compensation for the emotional distress Hannah caused 6 years ago. It was all out of my kindness. I said leave. Hannah sat up and threw the bag of money at Aaron. The bag hit Aaron's chest and he was genuinely angry. You're giving me attitude while acting shamelessly? He said before picking up the money and leaving. The door of the ward slammed shut and Hannah leaned back onto the hospital bed. Sister, how are you feeling? Zach hurried to her side, relieved that she hadn't fainted. Shaking her head weakly, Hannah felt an overwhelming bitterness in her heart. Zach, we shouldn't pursue treatment. I want to go home. What are you saying? Zach's expression changed. Hannah, you can't give up like this just because Aaron made you feel bad. Your parents went into debt to save you, and your little brother borrowed a huge sum of money. Olivia interjected. Now you want to abandon treatment for a scoundrel? Are you truly foolish or are you pretending to be so? Olivia's gaze pierced through Hannah, and Hannah fell silent. You're willing to let your parents bear the burden of your debts to help you live, but instead you want to exhaust their last bit of strength and pass away because some guy made you feel worthless? You aren't worthless, so don't let him win, Olivia declared. Hannah was taken aback and turned her head to look at Olivia. If I were you, even if I had to face death, I would strive to repay all the debts I owe before considering anything else. Olivia gazed intently into Hannah's eyes. Now you're behaving like a coward and a deserter if you leave the people who love you most. It's truly disheartening. With those firm words, Olivia stood up and left the ward, exiting the hospital. As Olivia departed, a glimmer of determination flickered in Hannah's eyes. She realized Olivia was right. Hannah, Zach tried to speak, but words failed him. Zach, Hannah interrupted Zach, turning to face him. I'm hungry. Could you buy something for me to eat? Yes. He paused for a second and nodded. This was the first time Hannah had expressed a desire to eat since she was hospitalized. Usually they had to coax her to take a few bites. In just a few days, she had visibly lost weight, causing great concern for her younger brother. Now, hearing Hannah's willingness to eat, Zach felt a surge of relief, and gratitude towards Olivia increased even more. After she returned home, Olivia let out a soft sigh near the entrance. "Why did you come back so late?" Rachel scolded Olivia upon seeing her enter. "Your tutor Vera has been waiting for you for half a day." Rachel pointed to Vera. "Let's go upstairs and talk." Completely disregarding Rachel's pretense of being a caring mother, Olivia gestured for Vera to follow her. "Sure, okay," Vera replied, setting down her teacup. Observing Olivia and Vera walk away, showing no attention toward her, Rachel seethed with jealousy and resentment. How dare Olivia blatantly ignore her? Meanwhile, Monica returned home with her school bag. "Mommy, what's wrong?" "Nothing," Rachel replied, taking a deep breath. "Monica, go back to your room. Your tutor's already waiting for you there." "Okay, Mommy." Monica nodded and headed to her room. Monica's tutor was a young woman in her 20s, thin and dressed in plain clothes. She appeared to be a young college student, donning a pair of old-fashioned black-trimmed glasses and projecting an air of quiet reserve. When Monica saw the tutor, she displayed a look of disdain. The tutor stood up and said, "I'm a student from New York University. My name is—" "I'm not interested in knowing your name," Monica interjected, opening her bag. "Let's get started. Don't waste my time." She had no interest in entertaining someone of such low status. The effort required to imitate a person was taxing. Okay," the tutor replied, slightly taken aback before proceeding to teach Monica. Perhaps the temperament of this heiress is a little peculiar, the young tutor thought, continuing on with the lesson anyway. But that's not really the only reason I'm here anyway. After the dismal tutoring lesson, the tutor returned to her rented house. As soon as she opened the door, she noticed an unexpected visitor inside. Frowning, she was about to leave when an elderly man's voice emanated from the room. "Miss, have you had enough fun? How about you accompany me back home?" The girl stopped in her tracks, sticking out her tongue playfully as she entered the rented house. "Oh, it's you. Hi, Uncle Kong." Uncle Kong sat inside, his face contorted with concern as he observed the girl from head to toe. "What's with your appearance now?" "Uncle Kong, did my brother send you to find me?" The girl put her hands behind her back, gazing at Uncle Kong with bright eyes beneath her black-rimmed glasses. "Can you just pretend you haven't found me?" "Haven't you had enough fun here?" Uncle Kong asked sternly. "I just settled down in New York City," the girl pouted. "Uncle Kong, you've always loved me since I was a child. Please do me this favor. Just tell my brother you haven't found me yet, all right?" "You want me to lie to your older brother?" Uncle Kong appeared somewhat displeased. His young niece was becoming increasingly rebellious. "What's the big deal?" The girl shrugged nonchalantly. Then she surprised Uncle Kong, who was sitting on a chair, by abruptly pulling him to his feet without further explanation. She held onto his arm and led him out the door. "Uncle Kong, take care." With that, she closed the door firmly. Wait! Uncle Kong stared at the closed door inside. She was really testing the limits. She wasn't acting like the daughter of a prestigious family. After leaving the rented house, Uncle Kong made his way to the presidential suite on the top floor of a hotel in the center of New York City. "Sir, I'm back." "Did you find Cheyenne?" The man speaking was dressed elegantly in a dapper suit. I didn't manage to find her," Uncle Kong replied, bowing his head. The man adjusted his cufflinks and walked over to a nearby sofa, taking a seat. "Uncle Kong, did Cheyenne ask you to say that?" "I deserve to be punished," Uncle Kong murmured, lowering his head further. "It's not your fault, she's just too mischievous." The man smiled and shook his head. He was well aware of his sister's nature. She was born to be restless, unlike everyone else in the reserved Kong family. "Well, sir, Uncle Kong wanted to defend Cheyenne, but he struggled to find the right words. This time, Cheyenne had gone too far by enrolling in New York University. so far away from her home without her family's knowledge, even when Yale University had already sent a notice. Forget it. The man poured 2 glasses of lemon water and handed one to Uncle Kong. Uncle Kong, have some water. I'm not thirsty. Uncle Kong shook his head. Notify Cheyenne that if she hasn't had enough fun, she can continue to stay in New York City. The man narrowed his eyes. But I need her to investigate someone for me. Who? Uncle Kong inquired. Olivia Johnson. Ask her to check if Olivia has contacted Andrew Park or if he has contacted her yet. The man said, I believe that Andrew will definitely find this granddaughter. Sir, have you found the missing members of the Park family yet? Uncle Kong frowned slightly. It had been so many years, but they still hadn't found anyone. Could he be dead? No, Andrew Park must not be dead, the man said with certainty. Recently, we received news that someone seemed to have seen him in London. But the Park family has gone bankrupt. It's useless even if we see him, Uncle Kong said, puzzled. The man snorted. Andrew is nicknamed Old Ghost Park. He is an extremely crafty and strange person. Would he just watch the Park family go bankrupt without a real plan? Sir, you mean... Uncle Kong was stunned. Andrew transferred his assets a long time ago? Grandfather guessed so. The man took a sip of water. Tell Cheyenne to get close to Olivia as soon as possible. The meeting will be held next week. Even if Andrew does not come to find Olivia before the meeting, I imagine he will find a way to contact her after the meeting. We should be prepared. Yes, sir. Uncle Kong nodded heavily. Ugh. The man sighed and looked at the dark sky outside the window. There was no haze in his eyes. The sky's about to change. Uncle Kong followed the man's gaze and nodded. It was not easy to maintain a peaceful life for 17 years. It seemed like the Kong family was going to be busy again very soon. It's raining! A short-haired girl quickly gathered all the clothes that were drying on the balcony outside. Jeremy, your clothes are dry. Quickly, take them back to your own room. Jeremy wasn't listening. He was busy looking at the leather envelope on the table. It was sealed with a red stamp bearing his family's crest, ancient and mysterious. It's from the Kong family in San Francisco. Jeremy frowned slightly. This letter was not sent to his family's home in San Francisco, however. Instead, it was directly sent to him in New York City. Sure enough, the Kong family had been monitoring the other families, and Jeremy, even when he thought he had traveled here under their radar, he entered a string of code into the search page on the computer, and it directly led him to an official website called Assassin. Jeremy browsed the latest information while searching for anything useful. Jeremy? The closed door suddenly opened. Didn't you hear me when I asked you to collect your clothes? Not now, just pull them aside. Jeremy replied with a distracted look, still engrossed in the screen. Jeremy! Devin was about to scold him, but then remembered that her brother was not one to be trifled with. So she took a deep breath and shook her head. She placed Jeremy's clothes on his bed, and then she turned her attention to the computer. Assassin.cloudnet.org? Devin paused. Jeremy, what is this? Shh, I'm reading. Jeremy stopped his mouse on a reward order and clicked on it. Duke Lee. What the? $10 million for this Duke Lee? There's a bounty on his head? I'm almost tempted to go for it, Devin said as she read the message. How about I come out of retirement for this? Don't mess around. Jeremy glanced at his sister. No one has touched this Duke Lee for a long time. He's the head of the largest crime syndicate in the world. The biggest crime syndicate? Devin shook her head. And forget it. I won't touch that. Her eyes fell upon the envelope in front of Jeremy's table. What is this? Don't touch it, Jeremy warned, tapping Devin's wrist with his finger. Yes. Devin took a deep breath, feeling sore and itchy all over her body. Annoyed, she pulled her hand back. It's not like it's the admission notice for Hogwarts. Why are you so nervous? If you don't want me to touch it, at least say why. Stingy.
With that, Devin turned around and walked out the door, annoyed that her little brother was being so curt. Night had fallen, and Pamela carried a thermos box filled with supper as she knocked on the door of her father's office at Cox's hospital. Her father had been absent from home for a few days, and she felt compelled to coax him back to ease her mother's distress. Although it might not directly concern her, her father had a significant 30% stake in Cox's hospital. She didn't want that wealth to fall into the hands of her cousins and the other 4 families that owned the hospital after he passed away. "Who is it?" Her dad's voice came from inside the door. "Dad, it's me," Pamela replied. "Wait a minute." After about 10 minutes of silence, the door to the hospital director's office finally opened. A nurse in her early 20s appeared, casting a shy and anxious gaze at Pamela before leaving. Pamela entered the hospital director's room and closed the door behind her. She gazed at the middle-aged man behind the desk, who was adjusting his tie. "Dad?" "Pam, why are you here?" Angus Cox looked at his daughter, confused. "Dad, you haven't been home for a few days." Pamela walked up to him and placed the food box on the table. "It must be exhausting to work overtime. Mom and I are very worried about your health. I even made this for you. Please try it." Pamela opened the lunchbox and laid out the food. "Even if you work hard, remember to eat and have some rest." "Thank you," Angus said, looking at his daughter arranging the supper and offering such thoughtful words. He felt a pang of guilt in his heart. "My work here is about to end. How about this? Wait for me for an hour. I'll check the patient's information after dinner, and then we'll go home together." "Really?" Pamela's face lit up, displaying a shy smile. "Really," Angus confirmed with a smile, picking up his spoon and fork to eat. He suddenly recalled something and asked, "Pamela, have your exam results come out? How did you do?" Pamela's smile froze, and she replied vaguely, pretty good. Worried that her father would press further, she rolled her eyes and said, "Dad, you should eat first. I'll go out for a stroll." "Okay, go." Angus nodded, "but don't wander around. This is a hospital and there are lots of germs. You can take a walk in the small garden at the back." "Okay, Dad," Pamela responded, quickly walking out of the hospital room. After closing the door, she took a deep breath and headed for the elevator. She was confident that her father would definitely come home tonight, and that was enough. As the elevator door slowly opened, Pamela spotted a familiar face. Stepping in, she recalled the name of the person in front of her. "Huh? Zach?" "Yes," Zach acknowledged, noticing that Pamela recognized him as a classmate. I should be going," he said before she could ask what he was doing there. As soon as Zach disappeared into the elevator, Pamela looked around and went to the door of the room she saw Zach exiting when she first spotted him. Her eyes narrowed as she examined the clipboard hanging on the wall outside the hospital room. "So Zach's here visiting his sister," she whispered, as a small idea took form in her mind. With a smile, Pamela turned around and contemplated the situation. The severity of Hannah's illness became increasingly apparent. Wow, she thought, this could be a situation I could use to my advantage. This new opportunity felt like a blessing from the heavens, and it seemed that the god of fate really did favor her. The following day, Pamela deliberately arrived a little later than usual, entering the classroom 10 minutes before the start of the class. She discreetly scanned the room and noticed that most of the students were already present. Wearing an anxious expression, she walked toward Zach, who was engrossed in reading at his desk. "Zach!" she called out. Zach was taken aback, raising his head to look at Pamela with a puzzled expression. Her sudden shout drew the attention of the entire class. Everyone turned to watch her, wondering what Pamela was up to so early in the morning. "Zach, I heard from a nurse in the hospital that your sister has breast cancer. It's such a serious illness. Why didn't you say anything?" Pamela said, finding it hard to believe. Zach frowned with disapproval. He clearly didn't want Pamela to bring up his sister's illness in front of the whole class. It wasn't something to be proud of when a family member fell sick, especially with such a severe condition. He didn't like being the center of attention, and he certainly didn't want his sister's health to become a topic of gossip after meals. Why should I have said anything? Hey, treating such an illness can be expensive. Do you have enough money? If not, I can help. How much do you need? We're classmates and I'll gladly lend you the money. Pamela offered sincerely. Olivia shifted her gaze away from her exercise book and looked at Pamela. Was she seriously considering lending money to Zach? What kind of absurdity was this? Reading Pamela's thoughts, Olivia could see that Pamela already knew that Zach's family had covered the hospital expenses. So did she just want to gain a good reputation by offering to help, knowing he wouldn't even say yes? What a ridiculous person. No need, Zach shook his head. But before he could finish his sentence, Olivia interrupted. Zach, which hospital is your sister admitted to? Olivia asked loudly. Huh? Zach was a bit puzzled by Olivia's abrupt question, but he thought she might be trying to conceal the fact that she had lent him money. So he cooperated and replied, Cox's Hospital. Cox's Hospital? Olivia muttered in surprise. Isn't that the hospital belonging to Pamela's family? Yes, Pamela confirmed. I heard about it from a nurse, that's why I know. Pamela looked at Zach with a caring expression. Zach, don't worry. I've already instructed the nurses to take good care of your sister. Thank you, Zach said, embarrassed everyone was listening in on such a private matter to begin with. If you need anything, just let me know. Pamela showed her concern for her classmates. The surrounding classmates followed Pamela's lead and changed their opinions of her. While she might not be the most reliable person, she seemed genuinely caring towards her classmates. Observing everyone's reactions, Pamela couldn't help but feel pleased, and her joy was evident in her eyes. Wait, since Zach's sister is staying in Pamela's hospital, does that mean they can get the hospital fees waived? Millie asked. She saw through Pamela's intentions right away. She was annoyed by Pamela's behavior. If she wanted to improve her reputation, she didn't have to step on others. What was the point of acting so self-righteous in the morning? Indeed, Olivia chimed in with a smile. And the cost of medications, they can at least get a discount, right? Also, make sure the chief surgeon is the best in your hospital. Pamela was stunned into silence. How could she decide on hospital matters like this? Moreover, reducing the fees was out of her control. She wasn't familiar with Zach's family, so why should she ask her family to earn less money? If she set this precedent, every auntie in town would come to her to reduce fees for their hospital stays. That would be detrimental to her family's business. What's the matter? Olivia propped her chin with one hand. Pamela, you said you can come to me if you need anything, didn't you? You've already scored a full booking for your family's hospital. Can't you just give a little discount? Some people are so convinced of themselves. When others need help, they act all benevolently. But when it comes time to actually give the money, they become more quiet and scarce than anyone else. Millie sneered. Pamela's face turned anxious at Millie's words. She glared fiercely at her and pretended to feel wronged as she replied, I didn't say that. Although I am the dean's daughter, I have no management authority, and I'm not a shareholder. I can only discuss this with my father and try my best to plead for mercy, but I cannot guarantee the outcome. Millie immediately retorted, Then why did you claim to have such authority? You're just pretending to be all high and mighty? I almost fell for it. Olivia smiled and laughed to herself upon hearing Millie's retort. The confrontation between Wendy and Millie was always fiery. Few could match Millie's sharp tongue. Millie's words resonated with the onlookers, and they smiled and nodded, their impressions of Pamela only improving slightly. Olivia's quiet laughter further fueled Pamela's anger. She thought of teaching Olivia a lesson, but now Olivia had provoked her without Pamela even getting a chance. Clenching her fist, Pamela responded, My influence isn't significant. I come from a medical background,
How could it compare to Olivia? She has money to help people, so why isn't she offering? Everyone turned their attention to Olivia, trying to see what made her so special. Olivia, why don't you use the money from your family's food empire to help Zach's sister? Your family has plenty of money. Pamela crossed her arms, making a challenging remark. The class began discussing Olivia's background, and some confirmed that she was indeed the heiress of the Johnsons' Food, one of the leading food and beverage conglomerates in the country. Zach was surprised to learn about Olivia's identity. He was deeply touched that such a prominent person was willing to help him so generously. Olivia closed her exercise book and looked at Pamela coldly. Your words are so sour my teeth hurt. What do you want to achieve by saying all this? Pamela retorted, well, I don't want anything. I just feel sorry for Zach, and we should all support him. Olivia snorted coldly. Zach should seek help on his own, don't you think? Are you trying to humiliate him? Who do you think you are? I heard you dragging Zach into your charitable Pamela act just now, but we're all tired of your show. Pamela sighed dramatically. You just don't want to give money to Zach's family. Changing the topic won't change that fact. Why don't you see how much your hospital can reduce, and then I'll decide how much I would contribute. How about that? Olivia responded, predicting that Pamela wouldn't reduce the fees. She thought Pamela was more selfish than anyone else. You're rich, so you should pay more, Pamela said, though her argument didn't sit well with many people in the class, since they too had money and they felt strange hearing this. Olivia laughed coldly. You're right, I'm rich and can afford it. She could see that Pamela was annoyed by her, and was now resorting to making thoughtless comments. The bell rang promptly, and Pamela muttered, heartless show-off, before returning to her seat. I'm a heartless show-off? Olivia found it amusing to hear Pamela's remark. It seemed like another curse in this life. Pamela's heartlessness for the sake of wealth was a joke. During lunch, Olivia was joking with her friends when suddenly, Steve appeared behind her and said, I need to talk to you. Wendy's back stiffened in fear, but Olivia replied, maybe after school tonight, I'm kind of busy right now. That works, Steve agreed and patted Jeremy's shoulder. Jeremy, let's go home after school. Jeremy gave Steve a glance and declared, I'm not letting you get in my car again. Why? Steve scoffed. Such a weirdo. Then he shook his head and walked away. Wendy sighed with relief once Steve was gone. Wendy, look at you. Millie shook her head. It's not my fault I got scared. He just appeared out of nowhere. Wendy pouted and played with her food with her fork. She wished she could be like Olivia, able to talk and laugh with Steve, but she always became nervous and tongue-tied in his presence. You'll never make progress if you keep thinking like that, Olivia said helplessly. She couldn't understand why Wendy was so timid. I have a plan. Wendy's eyes shifted to Jeremy. Jeremy, can you stay after school? I need your help with something. Yes, he replied. This worked, he figured, since he was unwilling to go with Steve again. Thank you, Wendy smiled. Olivia and Millie exchanged glances. Wendy, what do you want Jeremy's help with? I won't say, Wendy snorted. She would reveal her plan after it succeeded. Otherwise, they would mock her. Working together? Millie teased. Enough! Wendy waved her fork around, or I'll poke you again. Amidst laughter, lunchtime came to an end. After returning to the classroom, Zach privately called Olivia over and apologized. I'm sorry for bringing you trouble. His weary countenance bore the weight of sleepless nights and strained emotions, a testament to his unwavering dedication to his sick sister's bedside at the hospital. His eyes, usually vibrant, now held a subdued gaze that spoke of endless worry and fatigue. Shadows danced beneath his eyes, telling the story of countless hours spent in the dim hospital room, his youthful features etched with the mature wariness that belied his age. His normally animated movements seemed restrained, as if every step carried a burden of unspoken fears and hopes. Despite the exhaustion etched into his features, a flicker of determination still glimmered.
fueled by his unyielding devotion to the sister whose recovery he held in his heart. "You don't need to say sorry for anything, Zach. You've been through enough, trust me." Olivia waved off his apology. "How is your sister doing now?" "Since you left last time, my sister has been much better. She started eating on her own and cooperated actively with the treatment. The doctor also said her chances of recovery are high." Zach expressed his gratitude. "You're our family's benefactor." "Don't say that." Olivia smiled. "I didn't do anything. In any case, Zach would repay the money in the future, so she suffered no loss. And she was sweet, so she deserved it. It's just that you clearly lent me the money, and when Pamela mentioned you, I couldn't say anything about being short on money." Zach felt guilty. He wanted to interrupt Pamela's malicious intentions several times, but he promised Olivia not to expose her. "Don't pay attention to her," Olivia advised, curling the corner of her mouth. "Let her say what she wants. Pamela just craves attention, but nobody worthwhile takes her seriously." Zach nodded. All right. If that's what Olivia wanted, he would comply. "Let's go back to our work." Olivia patted Zach's shoulder, who looked worried. "And remember to send my regards to your family." Walking back to her seat in the classroom, Olivia felt Jeremy's eyes on her, as if he wanted to see through her soul, uncover the truth under her facade. However, he found nothing and seemed somewhat disappointed. Olivia found Jeremy to be a mysterious person, even more so than Chris Jones. He always seemed to be looking at her and watching her, and even when she was laughing with her friends, he seemed to be eyeing everyone, as if studying them. But when she would read his thoughts, he was always merely thinking, what curious people. She wondered what made him so strange, though she was often too preoccupied with her own goals to really stop and focus too much on Jeremy. During Adam's class in the afternoon, Pamela raised her hand after the class ended, proposing that the whole class should donate money to help Zach's family. Adam turned to Zach, asking for his opinion. Zach stood up, looking a bit nervous. I don't need it." His sister's medical expenses were already covered. There was no need for more donations. "Zach, if you have difficulties affording treatment, just say so," Pamela interjected, mentally scolding him for being foolish. "I don't have any difficulties, and I don't need everyone to donate." Zach took a deep breath, looking determined. "My sister's condition is improving, and her surgery is scheduled for next week. The doctor's optimistic about her chances. Our family's doing well now, and we don't need extra help. We don't want our lives disturbed." He paused and glanced at Pamela. "Honestly, I feel like my privacy has been invaded. This feeling is troubling me. I hope everyone won't discuss my family anymore. Thank you." Zach's words left Pamela livid, her face turning green and then pale. Damn it. Such a perfect opportunity to be adored for her charitable nature ruined by Zach. Damn it, she thought. His sister deserves to die on the operating table. Around the classroom, Pamela's classmates whispered among themselves about how rude Pamela was for meddling and revealing Zach's private home matters in front of everyone. Pamela felt like she was being treated as an outsider, while Olivia couldn't help but smile, watching her antics and self-destructive behavior. She wondered how much longer Pamela would last at Marshall High School. After school, Steve called Olivia outside and suggested, "Liv, we should hang out sometime soon after school. My brother Robbie says he misses you." "I'd love to, but I can't make it today. I've already planned to study with Millie and Wendy." Olivia declined, recalling their previous arrangement to hang didn't work. "When are you free? I'll bring Robbie to hang out with you." Steve persisted. "I can tell that he really likes you." "I don't have much free time lately. Could you tell Robbie for me? Once I'm a little freer, I'll bring some delicious food to see him," Olivia offered with a smile. That little kid was quite adorable. "Liv, let's be honest." Steve's tone turned serious. "Have you considered changing boyfriends?" "What?" Olivia was taken aback. What was Steve talking about all of a sudden? "I know you're supposedly engaged to Chris Jones or whatever, but our families have a stronger connection. Would it be nice to get closer to each other?" Steve suggested. And Robbie really likes you. Whoa, Olivia interrupted Steve, raising her hands. Steve, don't you think this is a little bit forward? My relationship with Chris is very stable right now. I won't be changing my mind or looking elsewhere for the time being, okay? What about looking elsewhere? Chris's angry voice came from behind them. Olivia shivered. Chris, you appeared at exactly the right time, didn't you? Guess so, Chris huffed. Of course, he timed it perfectly. If he didn't show up, someone could have tried to steal Olivia right out from under him. Deep down, though, Chris was slightly relieved that Olivia said she wasn't interested in leaving him. It meant she still had him in her heart, right? But her remark about for the time being made him wonder if she was just waiting for it to be over. Chris, you're really good at making an entrance, Steve joked. I'll leave you two alone to talk. After Steve left, Olivia shook her head in amusement. Why do we keep encountering such peculiar people in our lives? She mused. She couldn't figure out what Steve was thinking. If Wendy heard this, she would probably be heartbroken. Olivia narrowed her eyes and devised a plan. Since Wendy couldn't speak to Steve, why not let her make a move on Steve's brother, Daniel Shook, instead? Building a good relationship with him might be easier. What are you thinking? Chris frowned slightly. You don't actually want to change boyfriends, do you? Not at all, Olivia replied, her train of thought interrupted by Chris. She gave him an annoyed look. I'm going home. Bye. Wait a minute. Chris put his arm around Olivia's shoulder. I need to tell you something. Come with me. What is it? Olivia felt a bit puzzled. Why did so many people have something to tell her today? Let's go, Chris insisted, restraining Olivia's struggling shoulders. Don't move, don't struggle, don't resist. Otherwise, I can't guarantee I won't do something. He smiled teasingly at her. Olivia's mouth twitched at the words that sounded like a forced offense. Fine, let's go, she sighed. Chris led Olivia out of the teacher building. Jeremy, who saw them walking together, narrowed his eyes. Chris's arm around Olivia's shoulder was irksome to him. Jeremy, can you help me with something? Wendy pleaded, putting her hands together and looking at him pitifully. What is it? Jeremy turned around to face her. Wendy took out a pink envelope. Can you give this to Steve for me? Since she couldn't talk to Steve directly without shaking, she had written her thoughts in a letter. A love letter? Jeremy looked at the envelope in Wendy's hand. Girls love doing such useless things. Why should I give it to him? Because you two have a good relationship, Wendy explained. Won't you be going home together later? When the time comes, just pass it to him casually. Not too formal, but not too casual either. Her heart was in turmoil. I don't have a good relationship with him, and we won't be going home together later. Jeremy corrected her, wondering why she had such an illusion. Please, Wendy pleaded. I always bring delicious food for you. Isn't that enough? I'll continue to bring it for you from tomorrow. My mom made some sesame green tea cake. It's really delicious. Jeremy frowned. He might as well return the favor since he'd eaten a lot of the food she brought. All right, he finally agreed. But my relationship with him is really bad. That's fine. Wendy nodded eagerly. As long as Jeremy was willing to help, it was good enough for her. Wendy implored, please, the letter holds my happiness. Jeremy sighed and reached out to take the letter. He'd allow Steve to take his car one more time today, but this would be the last time. Just as Jeremy was about to touch the envelope, a hand grabbed it in front of him and took it from Wendy. Feeling relieved that the letter was taken, Wendy stood up and wanted to thank Jeremy, only to be surprised to find Steve standing in front of her, holding her love letter. Her heart raced, and her breathing quickened. Wendy felt her mind go blank again. Jeremy was also surprised by Steve's sudden appearance. However, this saved him from some trouble. After all, the letter had already fallen into Steve's hands. Jeremy turned around and left to avoid any further complications, especially the possibility of Steve wanting to get into his car later. Wendy, I never expected this. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Steve took her love letter and shook his head playfully. Wait, what? No, you don't know what that is. Wendy shook her head blankly. Damn it. She was tongue-tied and unable to speak. I never would have thought you had a crush on someone like Jeremy. You even wrote him a love letter? Steve laughed slyly. Olivia found herself being led away from the school's gates by Chris, their steps purposeful as they head toward the nearest convenience store and gas station grocery shop affiliated with the Johnson family. However, their movement came to an abrupt pause just before reaching their intended destination. Wait, stop by and be quiet. Chris signaled for silence, his gesture commanding attention. Olivia looked around, then posed a question with a measured tone. What exactly is it you're doing by bringing me here? I wanted to take you out and treat you to a little snack, Chris stated, his gesture embodying a sense of generosity. May I inquire as to your preference for refreshment? He asked with a flourish as he gestured to a nearby coffee shop. An oat milk-infused latte would be most appreciated, Olivia promptly responded, appreciating both the offer and the cutesy way in which he was talking. Very well then, an oat milk-infused latte and a cup of black coffee, Chris communicated to the attentive waiter as soon as they stepped foot inside. He then redirected his focus to Olivia before telling the waiter, And can we have a table somewhere private, without a bunch of foot traffic disturbing us? That shouldn't be a problem, the waiter acknowledged, briefly glancing at the pair. You cool with a spot on the back patio? We have heat lamps back there. Indeed, Chris confirmed with a nod. Olivia's intrigue was now thoroughly aroused by Chris's actions. She regarded him intently, attempting to discern his intentions. Yet her efforts to glean insights into his thoughts proved to be in vain. A newfound awareness surfaced. Her ability to apprehend the inner musings of others appeared to be restricted in this particular instance. This unexpected turn left her feeling disconcerted. Why, all of a sudden, was she unable to access her power and read Chris's thoughts? Might this be connected somewhat to their growing closeness? Olivia quickly dismissed this notion. The prospect of losing her power scared her. She had become quite used to them and had even learned to rely on them in many situations. Was it conceivable that Chris had something unique that had suddenly created a barrier that stopped her powers? Olivia furrowed her brow as she contemplated this possibility. While she comprehended the fundamental nature of her own ability, the power to delve into the thoughts of others, much of its intricacies remained shrouded in obscurity. Could Chris be a singular enigma with the realm of her own mind, a riddle within a puzzle? Uncertainty swirled within her mind as she continued to gaze at Chris. Now that she couldn't read his thoughts, her understanding of him and of the situation was incomplete, her clarity obscured. She felt vulnerable. Breaking the contemplative silence, Chris gently tapped Olivia's forehead, prompting her to return to the present moment. Shall we head outside to the patio? He suggested. Momentarily startled, Olivia nodded. Ah, she responded softly, her fingertips instinctively rising to the spot where Chris had tapped, her earlier thoughts echoing. As they entered the patio, Olivia situated herself across from Chris. Her thoughts now crystallized into a single inquiry. So, will you please tell me now why you brought me here? Chris wasted no time in addressing the heart of the matter. Are you familiar with the Kong family in Philadelphia? He asked directly. The question elicited a perplexed shake of Olivia's head, an indication of her unfamiliarity with the Kong family. Well, you know the 4 big families of New York City, right? Chris pressed on, his gaze unswerving. The Johnsons, Handler, Park, and Rose families, Olivia responded, her voice poised and resolute, signifying her awareness of these most influential families in New York. Those are the 4 big families of New York City 17 years ago, also known as the Old 4 families. After some things happened in the intervening years, the Cooper family replaced the Park family, and the Leadham family replaced the Rose family. After Chris explained, he then asked, Do you know about the 7 biggest, most influential families in the entire country? I doubt it. I certainly don't know everything, even if I know tidbits, Olivia said frankly. The Kong family in Philadelphia is the leader because it's the most influential. And the Garibaldi family in San Francisco is the second. Then there's the Bridges family in Boston, the Pell family in Chicago, the Johnson family in New York City, the Park family in London, and the Shook family of London. Chris introduced them. These are the 7 most influential families in the States, even though 2 are based in London. That's just how powerful their sphere of influence is. What about the Jones family? Olivia was puzzled. Shouldn't the 7 major families at least include the Jones? No. Chris smiled and shook his head. The initial purpose of the 7 families establishing an alliance was to prevent the Jones family from competing against them and buying up all their assets. Oh, Olivia understood. It did have a good effect in the early days. It even reached the stage where the 7 big families and the Jones family basically controlled the entire economy of America, Chris said with pity. Unfortunately, after a long period of cooperation, there will definitely be a division. The 7 families have had lots of disagreements and changed their minds and rebelled in recent years, giving the Jones family and our allies a chance to fight back. What happened? Olivia felt that this period of history was quite interesting. Well, following years of competition, things have eroded, but the 7 families elected the Kongs as their unofficial leader so that they could remain closely tied in business in order to keep the Jones family from taking over their businesses and creating any worldwide monopolies that would be impossible to compete with. That way, the 7 families kept their status and did not fade away into oblivion. And things have continued more or less that way until now. Chris paused for a moment. After waiting for the waiter to put down the coffee, Chris leaned in and said, "And although the 7 families finally stopped fighting under Kong's lead, their cooperation with each other means they have missed out on some big opportunities during the best periods of economic development. And recently the Jones family grew, so now they can only barely control my family, or my stepmother Ashley's family." Then tell me, what was the purpose of their business alliance if it has let your family become so powerful? Olivia asked. Chris took a sip of the coffee and said, "The Kong family in Philly is still the head of the 7 families. They were always the first to notice the economic changes. They're apparently going to have a meeting of the 7 families to discuss changes in the market," Chris explained. "Since there are things like artificial intelligence and climate change affecting all their businesses now. The meeting is happening soon, and there are murmurs that there will be a big change in the dynamic of the family to accommodate the changing times." A meeting of the 7 families? Olivia blinked. She did not remember any major economic changes in her previous life, or her dad attending obscure meetings with other business elite families. But even if there were big economic changes happening around her, she was just a spoiled rich girl at that time. She had to buy and buy to make up for her inferiority. No wonder she didn't pay attention to such things back then. Yes, Chris nodded. The meeting will likely be about what their company should expect economically in the next few years. They need to prepare for it. The next few years? Olivia could not help thinking about the bankruptcy of the Johnson family that happened in her last life. It devastated her father, and he was so ashamed that his family had lost its empire under his watch that Michael had taken his own life. A global financial crisis happened a few years ago after the last meeting, 17 years ago. The Park family of the 7 families went bankrupt. I don't know what will happen this time. Chris shook his head. The 7 big families look like they don't even belong to the same alliance anymore. Without the Park family there, it should just be the 6 families now, though, right? Olivia asked. She remembered how her grandpa and uncles were missing, so she didn't expect that they'd be attending. And why are you even telling me of all this? Olivia did not know what Chris wanted to do, or why he was informing her of everything right now. Even if the Johnson family wanted to attend that meeting, she had nothing to do with it. In her previous life, She did not even know what this meeting was. "I want you to help me find the location of the meeting," Chris said. "There will be an address on the invitation letter. You just need to help me find that address." If he wanted, this was a very good opportunity to get close to the 7 families. "You want me to steal the invitation letter from my own family?" Olivia frowned. "Not steal, but read," Chris corrected Olivia's words. "Let's not talk about whether I can find it or not. What benefits will it bring me if I do this for you?" Olivia curled her lips and leaned back on the chair. "After all, my father is a descendant of the Johnson family, and my mother is a descendant of the Park family. I'm a member of the 7 big families. Why should she tell a member of the Jones family about the 7 major families' meeting locations?" "Because you owe me a favor," Chris said confidently with a wide grin. "So you will definitely help me return this favor." Olivia looked at Chris's confident look and clenched her fists. He was right. He'd saved her life and agreed to be her fiancé and stay in New York and go to her high school. All so she could plot revenge on those who had hurt her in her last life. After a while, she impatiently shook her head. Fine. He was ruthless, but she knew she basically owed him her life for all he'd already done for her. When they finished their coffees and lattes, Chris personally guided Olivia out of the shop and to the side alley's entrance. He halted upon spotting a private car parked not far ahead. "Your chariot awaits, madame," he joked, pointing to Olivia's driver's car. "Thank you," Olivia nodded, her gaze lingering on Chris. "Wait, I have a question for you." "Please, go ahead," Chris invited, his attention focused on Olivia. "Ask me anything." "Is there anything distinctive about you?" Olivia's query remained, her lingering concern centered on her inability to decipher Chris's thoughts anymore. He was the first person, apart from blood relatives like her mom at first, whose thoughts eluded her grasp, though even with time she'd found herself able to read even her relatives' minds. "Distinctive?" Chris's gaze took on a pensive quality before he nonchalantly replied. "Exquisite handsomeness, perhaps? Does that qualify?" Olivia's mouth twitched, a speechless expression forming. Opting to ignore his rather self-assured remark, she suppressed the urge to comment, and after a pointed eye roll at his playful self-assessment, she turned and proceeded to her waiting vehicle, where Morris Spratt stood patiently. As Olivia's figure receded, Chris's smile gradually waned. This matter bore immense significance. He knew he needed Olivia's assistance if his personal mission was to be successful. The private car before him began to move, and just as he began to pivot away, his pocketed phone chimed to life. Retrieving the device and placing it to his ear, he said, "Hello?" "Chris, how did your little plan go? Did the young girl agree to help you?" Sven's voice emanated from the other end, intertwined with the sounds of slurping something and smacking. "She has agreed to help, yes," Chris responded with a slight frown. "What are you doing?" "Eating some takeout noodles," Sven declared between slurps. "I've saved a portion for you if you want." "No need. Enjoy it yourself." Chris's brow furrowed. He found it baffling how anyone could live solely on takeout and junk food. "When do you plan to return?" Sven's voice continued, accompanied by the distinct sound of his eating. "Soon. Purchase a plane ticket." Chris hastened to end the call, his patience waning. "Wait, are you hanging up?" Sven's voice echoed through the receiver before being cut off. With a resigned shake of his head, Sven continued consuming his noodles, his attention later shifting to booking plane tickets online. His task was complete, and he pressed the confirmation button. Done. With tickets secured, he returned to his instant noodles, fetching a kettle to prepare a second serving. Since Chris was disinclined to partake, he could indulge in a second bowl himself. "How can something be so delectable?" he murmured to himself happily. While awaiting his second helping of instant noodles, Sven's attention shifted back to the screen. Pursuing the latest inquiries on sports cars, films, and vintage pots of herbs and plants. As he watched and waited, the timer on the instant noodles sounded, alerting Sven to the passage of 3 minutes. Setting aside his fork, he reached for the keyboard to respond to an incoming email. What is this? Sven clicked his tongue, perturbed by the interruption to his instant noodle experience. He positioned the noodles aside once more, focusing on the email, and swiftly deciphering the password. My silly boss and his penchant for intricate passwords, he muttered under his breath. After a brief struggle, the password yielded, revealing a picture as Sven opened a new email message. The image was familiar, depicting the flight ticket booking page he had just recently navigated, albeit with a different passenger name. Damn it. Sven's expression grew grave as he stared at the image. He promptly dialed Chris's number. Chris, how much longer until you return? I'll be there in a minute. Why? What happened? Chris queried. A significant development has unfolded, Sven responded, his focus glued to the image. Duke Lee has secured an airline ticket for this week. Destination New York City, JFK International Airport. What did you say? Chris was taken aback. What connection did Duke Lee possibly have with the 7 families? Was this a mere coincidence that he would be in town the very same week they would be meeting? It seemed implausible. Get home now. The situation has become increasingly turbulent, Sven alerted, activating another computer. Shall we mobilize our associates from Philadelphia and convene them? Yes, Chris replied, pausing briefly before a faint crease formed between his brows. Wait a moment. I need you to put a team together to safeguard Olivia, too. Understood, Sven affirmed before ending the call. He swiftly commenced coordinating with his team of drivers and bodyguards, ensuring that all arrangements were in place. With preparations completed, Sven turned his attention back to his neglected instant noodles, only to discover that his once beloved snack had transformed into an inedible bowl of mush. Ugh, my precious little soup, he lamented, sighing as he discarded the failed culinary experiment into the trash. I'm not sure if Chris's little crush even understands Chris's sentiments, Sven mused aloud, rising from his seat. Having only consumed a solitary bowl of instant noodles, he found himself unsatiated and disgruntled. Better head down to the grocery store to grab some more junk food, he thought, and then it's back to making sure my boss's little girlfriend is safe. While Chris worried about securing her protection back in Manhattan, Olivia arrived home to the opulent expanse of the Johnson family mansion. Olivia soon found herself reclining in the grandeur of the living room, contemplating her forthcoming plans, when suddenly thoughts went to the invitation's cryptic address that Chris had tasked her with finding. As she sat deep in thought, a bespeculated girl entered the premises from outside. Upon sighting Olivia, the girl offered a nod of recognition. And you are? Olivia inquired, casting an appraising glance upon the unfamiliar figure. Her identity remained a puzzle. I am Miss Monica's tutor. The girl introduced herself, adjusting her glasses with a gentle push. I see, Olivia acknowledged, surveying the time. Monica hasn't returned yet. Please, take a seat here. A hint of empathy colored her disposition. She recognized the probable challenges endured by Monica's tutor. Monica's current mimicry of Olivia's own behaviors seemed akin to a dog attempting to alter its nature. The ruse, Olivia speculated, might not be sustainable given Monica's immature outbursts. However, Olivia looked at Monica's tutor, who appeared youthful. Please, have some water. Oh, no need, really. The girl hastily waved off the offer, perceiving the situation akin to dealing with Monica's temper. Her impression of the wealthy young ladies in New York was based on Monica's rude disposition, and Olivia radiated an entirely different aura. Rachel descended the staircase at this very moment, her gaze alighting upon the scene of Olivia and Monica's tutor in conversation. A fleeting disapproval flickered across her face. To preempt any potential upheaval caused by Olivia, Rachel intervened immediately and quickly instructed Monica's tutor. Oh dear, why don't you go ahead and head up to Monica's room to await her there? Of course, the girl complied, offering Olivia a parting smile before ascending the stairs. Within a few minutes, Monica herself returned home, Olivia focused on her own activities, partaking in tea and snacks while her thoughts remained preoccupied with the task at hand. She deliberated where she might find the elusive invitation Chris Jones had told her about. Liv, indulging too much in desserts might compromise your appetite for dinner later. Michael descended from upstairs, his tone amiable. I'm aware, Dad, Olivia responded, setting aside her snacks with a warm smile. As her mind drifted to her imminent task, a pang of guilt pricked her conscience. She fervently hoped her actions wouldn't burden Michael. Michael headed down the hall, and sometime later, Monica's tutor descended the staircase, readying herself for departure. Olivia had been so preoccupied thinking about the invitation that she hadn't even realized how much time had passed. Now, though, she seized the opportunity to address Monica's new tutor and casually say, I'm sorry I was out of it earlier. I didn't even catch your name. No worries. I'm Cheyenne, the girl replied with a smile. Cheyenne Kong. Then she bid her farewell before exiting the domain of the Johnson mansion. Kong, Olivia thought. Is she one of the Kongs that Chris told me about? Throughout dinner, Olivia found herself unable to fully engage, her thoughts preoccupied. As the meal concluded, Michael fixed his gaze upon Olivia. Liv, he addressed her, drawing her out from her gaze partially. Come to my study later. Of course, Olivia replied, her tone marked with an undertone of uncertainty. Was she in trouble? Rachel and Monica exchanged a fleeting glance upon hearing Michael's directive. Although his attitude towards Monica had made considerable strides, a palpable disparity remained when compared to his interactions with Olivia. They understood that such dynamics couldn't be hurried, yet an unease lingered within them. Shortly after the meal, Olivia made her way to Michael's study. Ambling through the room, she detected the study door creaking open. Seizing the moment, Olivia surreptitiously concealed herself behind the door, holding her breath. Michael emerged and ventured out of sight, prompting Olivia to step inside. Once within the study's confines, Olivia barked on a swift search of Michael's desk and bookshelf in pursuit of the elusive invitation. As her hand brushed the desk surface, her eyes failed to locate the sought-after card, yet an unexpected document garnered her attention instead. This document bore the conspicuous handwritten word, Y on the cover, in bold red ink, accompanied by a large question mark. Olivia recognized Michael's handwriting with a single glance. Intrigued, she pursued the contents of the document. It was a typed report that included a detailed analysis of the Johnson's Foods financial statements for their Manhattan headquarters. Alarmingly, a sizable sum totaling $20 million had vanished without a trace. Perplexed by the disappearance of such substantial assets, Olivia's brow furrowed as she grappled with her thoughts. Before she could delve further, approaching footsteps heralded someone's approach. Acting swiftly, she discreetly returned the document to its original position and positioned herself beside the desk, waiting. The door swung open, revealing Michael's presence. Observing Olivia, he greeted her with a warm smile. Liv, you're here. Yes, Olivia affirmed, her curiosity piqued. Dad, what did you need? Allow me to explain, Michael began, stepping towards the bookshelf. Retrieving an envelope from an inner drawer, he presented it to Olivia. This is for you. For me? Olivia queried, her gaze drawn to the leather-bound envelope before her. As her fingers encircled the object, she noted the elegant calligraphy that adorned the envelope bearing her name. Flipping it over, an intricate seal adorned the back, portraying a family emblem. Although unfamiliar, Michael's voice provided illumination. Dad, what is this emblem? It represents an ancient Greek beast symbolizing wisdom and equity, Michael elucidated. This emblem belongs to the Kong family, which is based in Philadelphia. Olivia's eyelids twitched at the mention of the Kong family, though she feigned ignorance. The Kong family in Philadelphia? I'm not acquainted with them. Why would they send me something like this? Your grandfather shared a long-standing connection with them, Michael expounded. In fact, the Johnson, Park, and Kong families are all prominent members of the 7 big families in the States.
so you'll be representing the Park family at a banquet." Olivia's eyes narrowed. "Oh? Go on." Olivia acknowledged, nodding thoughtfully. She had known that there was an invitation, but she certainly hadn't expected it to be addressed to her, or that she would be expected to attend a meeting or banquet, or whatever event it was that she had never even heard about in her last life. "Dad, are you attending?" she asked. "Unfortunately, my obligations at the office preclude me from attending," Michael lamented, his tone tinged with resignation. "However, my brother Bruno will be your escort. He will meet you in Philadelphia, ready to assist you." "My uncle?" Olivia's lips twitched skeptically, harboring doubts about the authenticity of Rachel's Paramount's care. She suspected that Bruno's intentions might extend no further than assuring she didn't end up dead under his watch. But that didn't mean she couldn't end up maimed or badly injured. "Yes, that's correct," Michael confirmed. "I've secured a flight for you to Philly this week. Ansel Parr has also arranged for your school leave. Prepare yourself over the next 2 days. The banquet on the final evening of your trip will conclude late, and your return flight is scheduled for noon on the following day." Olivia offered a wry smile. "So I'm not exactly at liberty to decline this invitation, am I?" "Liv, this banquet carries immense significance," Michael stressed, his gaze sincere. "I hope you'll take this opportunity to forge connections. It could significantly impact your future." Olivia understood the gravity of the situation. Attending this event might offer her a chance to avert the tragic end she had witnessed in her previous life. She yearned to prevent her father's unfortunate demise, and if this could help their family, if it could benefit her father or her mother in any way, and reverse their misfortunes, then she would do it. In this endeavor, her participation might just be her salvation. "Understood," Olivia replied, more determined now than before. "I'll attend." Before departing, she teased playfully, "Dad, I've heard that Philadelphia boasts a lot of fun tourist attractions and decent restaurants, so I promise not to return empty-handed. I'll bring you home a souvenir, okay?" She wanted nothing more than for her father to remain happy and prosperous for the rest of his long life. "I eagerly await it," Michael responded, a genuine smile adorning his features. He affectionately ruffled Olivia's hair. "Take care." "I will," Olivia affirmed, leaving Michael's study with a sense of purpose and a weighty responsibility. "Don't worry." Olivia retreated to her bedroom, where her first impulse was to delicately unseal the envelope and draft a text message to Chris about the location of the meeting. However, when she did, she strategically omitted any mention of her forthcoming participation, preserving an air of secrecy around her intentions. She found herself burdened with the vexing discontent toward Chris for thrusting her into such circumstances, though articulating this sentiment to him proved difficult. The following day at school, Olivia discreetly apprised Wendy and Millie of her impending engagements in Philadelphia. "I'm bummed I won't get to hang out because I'll be out of town," she informed them. "But please tell me everything I miss out on so I can feel like I lived vicariously through you while I was gone." She beseeched them to document their escapades through photographs and Snapchat and send them to her while she was in Philly. While Wendy and Millie harbored a tinge of disappointment, they demonstrated empathy, affirming their pact to reconvene for another hangout outside of school once she was back home. At the same time, Jeremy diligently orchestrated his affairs in New York City, carefully orchestrating his preparations to head to the meeting in Philadelphia to represent his own family. One of his last tasks was to inform Marshall Hyde that he would be leaving town for a week and would therefore need his assignments ahead of time. In an intriguing twist of fate, Adam, their teacher, observed a peculiar synchronicity among the requests, prompting him to voice his bemusement. "Curious, is it not?" Olivia and Jeremy concurrently submit leave requests with the same dates of departure and return from school. "Could it be by design, or a mere coincidence?" Adam queried, his brow knitted in contemplation. "Sir," interjected Steve, joining the conversation, "I too am going to be leaving school for a brief leave of absence. Family matters beckon me home." Adam's countenance momentarily reflected his bewilderment,
A trio of coincidental leave requests at the exact same time was certainly out of the ordinary. With a measured nod, he affixed his signature to the documents and granted his students' requests, however. Very well, your leaves have been validated. Thank you, Adam. Steve offered his gratitude before exiting Adam's office, whereupon his countenance shifted to a contemplative mask. This should be interesting, Steve thought. Me, Olivia, and Jeremy are all leaving town at the same time, going to the same place. It seems like we're all pawns on a chessboard right now. In the complex game orchestrated by the Kong family, he wondered what strategic gambits were being set in motion. Upon hearing her plane's descent, Olivia found herself in the embrace of an entirely unfamiliar city, Philadelphia. The climate here was a few degrees cooler compared to her hometown of New York City. It was a difference that was immediately palpable as she disembarked the plane. Drawing her jacket tighter around her, she spotted Bruno and her half-brother Edward standing in the baggage claim area, impeccably attired in suits and leather shoes. The striking resemblance between them lent an air of father-son camaraderie. A wry smile played on Olivia's lips as she approached with her suitcase in tow. "Liv, you've made it," greeted Bruno, his smile warm. One might almost think he was happy to see her, if one didn't realize Bruno had once conspired with her stepmom to destroy Olivia. "Is this your first journey to the city?" he asked. "Yes," Olivia replied nonchalantly, her gaze flickering toward the driver accompanying him. With a deferential nod, the individual extended a hand to relieve her of her luggage. "Miss Johnson, allow me to handle this for you." "Thank you," Olivia acknowledged with a nod, grateful for the assistance. "Have you eaten?" Bruno inquired. "I managed to eat on the plane," Olivia replied, her demeanor relaxed. "They had sandwiches, which were surprisingly good, or I was just really hungry." She laughed. "When did you guys arrive?" "Yesterday," Bruno responded, glancing at his watch. "It's already 12:30. It's time for a meal. I know you ate, but you might as well have a little snack or at least come with us, don't you think? Shall we?" "Sure," Olivia shrugged, mindful of Bruno's particularities when it came to food. They made their way from the Philadelphia International Airport to a renowned local restaurant called Uncle Vito's, where Olivia and Edward watched their uncle order practically everything on the menu. While Olivia observed Bruno eat item after item with a gluttonous Machiavellian fervor, another plane from New York City arrived at the Philadelphia airport, carrying Jeremy and Steve. The latter, maintaining his characteristic tenacity, doggedly pursued Jeremy as soon as he saw Jeremy step off the plane behind him. "Jeremy, wait up!" Steve called after him, clutching his suitcase. "Our destinies seem entwined. We're embarking on parallel journeys. Why not travel together?" Jeremy continued his drive with no desire to stop. Chuckling, Steve persisted. "Playing the aloof hero, huh? Don't worry, I can keep up with your pace. Just wait and see." Unbeknownst to them, Chris and Sven, both wearing large windbreakers, emerged from the plane moments later. Their gaze lingered briefly on Jeremy and Steve before they exchanged a hushed exchange and departed the airport. After his extravagant, multi-course lunch, Bruno escorted Olivia to their reserved accommodations on the top floor of a prestigious hotel, a floor exclusively allocated to the representatives and members of the 7 families. The lavish lodgings boasted top-tier amenities and services. The rooms were adorned with rich mahogany furniture, intricate tapestries depicting scenes of the Founding Fathers, and grand 4-poster beds that could rival a king's throne. The amenities offered were a blend of extravagance and convenience, catering to every conceivable desire of the discerning guests. Personal, dedicated hotel staff that was impeccably attired stood at their service, ready to fulfill any wish with a polite nod and a discreet smile. The marble-floored bathrooms featured clawfoot bathtubs that practically begged for a luxurious soak, while a collection of fine toiletries awaited Olivia's indulgence. The hotel's offerings extended beyond the confines of the suites, too. A world-class dining establishment, known for its delectable cuisine, awaited just an elevator ride away.
Olivia's taste buds tingled at the thought of savoring culinary masterpieces prepared by renowned chefs, all while enjoying sweeping views of the city skyline. For those seeking relaxation, a spa oasis awaited with a range of rejuvenating treatments. Bruno mentioned that the hotel's signature massage was a favorite among the elite, capable of melting away any traces of stress or weariness. Inside her suite, Olivia unpacked a fresh set of clothes before indulging in a rejuvenating shower. The state-of-the-art showerhead had an ambient lighting system, reminiscent of a tranquil sunrise or a starlit night, that enveloped her in soothing ambiance. The soft, melodious hum of an integrated sound system fills the air, offering a selection of tranquil tunes or energizing melodies to accompany her shower symphony. A cascade of water, perfectly calibrated to Olivia's preferred temperature, cascaded from a ceiling-mounted rainfall showerhead. The sensation was akin to standing beneath a gentle waterfall, washing away the worries of the day with each delicate drop. The rigors of her flight dissipated, replaced by a sense of revitalization, and Olivia felt completely relaxed. Blowing her hair dry, Olivia texted a message to Michael, apprising him of her arrival and her present reprieve. He responded in kind, urging her to prioritize her safety while in Philadelphia. As Olivia surveyed her surroundings, a subtle unease gnawed at her. She suddenly had the ineffable feeling that she was being watched, an intuition that deepened after her recent shower. She hadn't initially felt this upon entering the room, but now a modicum of certainty surged within her that she was indeed being surveyed. Guided by her instincts, Olivia examined the television, her gaze sharpening. The infrared signal emitted from the device didn't look like a normal signal. Its spectral signature was distinct. Stepping closer, she discovered an anomalous object tucked beneath the television, a tiny wire with some sort of something on it. A lens. It's a camera lens, she realized. Drawing from the knowledge garnered in her previous life, Olivia meticulously disassembled the concealed camera lens. A pinhole camera, Olivia remarked coolly, dismantling the camera. Since one's been planted, undoubtedly there are more. Olivia's sense of being observed remained unrelenting, prompting her to scour the room further. Her search revealed additional concealed cameras, ingeniously integrated into various objects, from the air conditioner to the mirror, and even the tissue box. Having dismantled and gathered all the devices onto a table, Olivia's lips curled into a sardonic smile. She wondered, half ironically, if she should extend her gratitude to these audacious individuals for their unabashed intrusions, whose audacity culminated in them placing a camera in her bathroom. Sitting down on the sofa, she was finally unburdened by the disquieting feeling of being watched. Olivia did not know who the person who installed these cameras was, nor did she know exactly why. She only knew that this trip to Philadelphia was perhaps more perilous and dangerous than she had originally anticipated. However, the more dangerous it seemed, the more excited she became. "Good. Very good," she whispered. The corners of Olivia's mouth curled up evilly. At that moment, a familiar male voice resonated from beyond the doorway. Curiosity piqued, Olivia promptly rose from her seat and approached her door to eavesdrop on whoever was talking. "Are you done yet? This is my room. Are you planning to follow me everywhere?" Jeremy was saying to someone out in the hallway. His brows furrowed in irritation. Steve Shook had been getting on his nerves since their departure from the airport, incessantly testing the limits of Jeremy's patience. "Oh, come on, we're neighbors, next-door neighbors, in fact. What's the harm in me dropping by for a chat?" Steve playfully retorted, feigning innocence. "Why are you making things so complicated? I'm just trying to bridge the gap between us." "I want nothing to do with you," Jeremy declared as he opened the door and entered his hotel room. Swiftly closing the door, he was halted in his tracks by Steve's sizable hand just before it shut. "One last thing," Steve interjected as he extended his hand to block Jeremy's closing door. "Spit it out," Jeremy uttered coolly, his gaze fixed on Steve. "Jeremy Spencer," Steve began before being cut off by Jeremy. My last name is Garibaldi, Jeremy corrected him curtly. Now that he was in Philadelphia, he was keen on keeping the identity he'd been living under in New York City under wraps. Oh, so you're Garibaldi again, Steve blinked. Do you always have two identities? If you've got something to say, just come right out and say it. Otherwise, I'm shutting the door, Jeremy snapped, exasperated with Steve's banter. Wait, okay, I'll talk. Steve responded promptly, adopting a more serious tone. Just remember to give me a heads up when it's time for dinner. Suppressing the urge to deliver a punch to Steve's face, Jeremy retorted, Get lost, before slamming the door closed. A resounding thud marked the door's swift closure, nearly grazing Steve's nose. His nimble reflexes saved his handsome features from potential deformation. Hey, Jeremy Garibaldi, that's a bit much. Steve scowled, perturbed. Was wanting to talk such an egregious offense that he had to slam a door in someone's face? Jeremy Garibaldi, Olivia exclaimed, taken aback by the revelation from behind her door. Jeremy was actually a member of the Garibaldi family. She swung her door open and saw Steve, who stood fuming outside. Steve, she said, what a coincidence. You're staying right next to me? Liv? Steve glanced at Jeremy's closed door and then at Olivia, bewildered. What in the world? They happen to be next door to each other. Liv, it's fate. Steve deliberately lowered his voice and pulled his suitcase into Olivia's room. Come, let's close the door and chat. Olivia was stunned. What was Steve doing? When did you arrive? Steve looked at Olivia's room and asked. 12:30, Olivia replied. Oh, then you were on Delta Flight 4330, right? Steve sat down on the sofa and sighed. Oh, this sofa is so comfortable. I was on the flight behind you. Oh. She did not remember which flight she was on. Ansel Parr bought the plane ticket. She casually sat on the sofa next to Steve. Is it comfortable? Yes, it is very comfortable. Steve smiled. The presidential suite is different. If there were a few more eyes staring at you in your room, would you still feel comfortable? Olivia smiled and asked. What do you mean? Steve asked with a confused smile. Never mind, Olivia said, not wanting to get into the whole surveillance thing, in case it was Steve himself who was watching her. Instead, she said, How about you treat me to a meal tonight? Sure, Steve said. I was already turned down by Garibaldi to hang out, so it'll be nice to hang out with someone who actually wants to hang out with me. When she heard Steve mention the name Garibaldi, Olivia curiously leaned forward and asked, Steve, I have a question for you. Go ahead and ask. Steve smiled and said, If it is too difficult to ask, I want you to treat me to 2 meals tomorrow. Haha. Olivia smiled and asked, I want to ask you about Jeremy. Jeremy? Steve was stunned for a moment. What do you want to know? Could it be that Olivia did not know Jeremy's real identity, even though they had been deskmates for so long? It couldn't be, right? Olivia seemed to be quite a smart person. You seem like you are very familiar with Jeremy, are you? Olivia asked. Is he not who he says he is at school, Jeremy Spencer? You really don't know him? Steve asked. I should know him? Olivia was a little curious about Steve's tone. Well, Steve shook his head and said, I mean, we are all from the 7 big families, so do you really not know him? Really, I don't know him. Olivia shook her head and said, I just returned to the Johnson family not long ago. Before, I was with my mom, Victoria, so Jeremy and I only met each other recently. Oh. Steve stretched out his voice. I guess I wasn't very familiar with Jeremy originally, but I knew him as a Garibaldi when we were younger, and I've seen him recently and gradually became familiar with him. Oh. Olivia leaned forward and asked, What kind of person is he? He's about the same age as us, Steve said, and as you may have noticed, he is calm and low profile and mostly keeps to himself. Most of them are quite good, well, most of them. Most of them? Olivia was a little puzzled. What do you mean by most of them are pretty good? Steve frowned and gestured at Olivia, so she leaned forward and looked at Steve. Well, Jeremy comes from a really big family. You know that the Garibaldi family in San Francisco is ranked second among the 7 big families. It's so big and influential, they have people in almost every industry. They often rival the Jones family in the business. Steve lowered his head and said in a serious manner, But the young men in that family usually have a lot of pressure to build their business and increase the family's wealth every generation. So their personalities are inevitably a little twisted. Most of them are good men, but some can be weird. Oh, Olivia nodded. She had also heard Jeremy shout "Get lost" just now, and he used a lot of strength to close the door. She wondered if maybe he was secretly a violent person. Actually, seeing Olivia listening attentively, Steve's mouth twitched. He finally held back the urge to laugh. He lowered his voice a few more times and said, Jeremy is so quiet, sometimes I wonder if he is a deviant. A deviant? Olivia was stunned for a moment and looked up at Steve. I don't know. I heard that Jeremy also likes sadomasochism or something, Steve said exaggeratedly. Seeing Olivia's stunned look, Steve could only cough to cover his almost uncontrollable smile. It was funny winding her up like this. The high society families certainly are strange. Olivia blinked her eyes blankly. Yes, indeed. Steve reached out and patted Olivia's shoulder. So, Liv, you must remember to lock your doors and windows at night. If you have nothing to do, don't go out and walk around. And guard against Jeremy. He's rude and weird. This ought to teach Jeremy to slam doors in my face, Steve thought. Now our classmate will treat him like a pariah. You should guard against Jeremy, Steve advised Liv. Why should I guard against him? Olivia frowned. Silly girl. Steve rolled his eyes at Olivia. Are you stupid? If you let Jeremy get close to you, he could be weird and come on to you or something. Yes, Olivia nodded. She felt that what Steve said was actually quite reasonable. She really could not hold it in anymore. Steve stood up. Well then, you should have a good rest first. I'm going back to my room. All right. Olivia got up to send Steve out. Before Steve left, he did not forget to look back and remind Liv. Remember, don't wander around. Oh, okay, Olivia nodded. When he turned around and heard Olivia closing the door, Steve could not help but cover his mouth and laugh exaggeratedly. Tears even flowed out. He had actually convinced Olivia not to talk to Jeremy. He finally returned to his room and looked around. Once inside, his brow furrowed. Had something been tampered with? He examined the light fixture beside his bed and discovered a pinhole camera installed there. Then he checked the TV and the phone and saw cameras in them as well. Losing his smile, Steve spat on the ground in disdain, creeping into the corner so the cameras couldn't see him. Was there someone who wanted to watch him and play games with him? All right, then let's play together, he thought. After putting his clothes and luggage away, Steve called down to the guest room service, and knowing he was being watched by surveillance cameras, he deliberately said loudly, Hello, I'm in one of the top floor suites, suite 1703. Please get a few girls up here and some alcohol. What? The guest services concierge was stunned. This was the first time she had heard such a request at noon. She looked up at suite 1703 and saw the room information showed that the person who had checked in was a 16-year-old youth. She grimaced. Were all children nowadays so precocious? Steve Shook simply repeated what he had said. Sorry, our hotel does not have this service, especially for someone underage, the concierge said. Why? It's not like I don't have money. Steve frowned. No, it's just that our hotel doesn't have this service. That's too bad. Steve pretended to coax with disdain and hung up the phone. Then he lay on the bed in a big triangle and complained, This place is so boring. Steve seemed to have thought of something and turned around to make another phone call. When the person on the other end answered, he said, Hello? Jeremy? Jeremy frowned when he received Steve's call. He was wiping his hair with a towel and there was a flash of impatience in his eyes. "What do you want?" "Are you really not going to treat me to dinner tonight?" Steve's lips curled up. "You won't regret it." Jeremy hung up the phone when he heard this. Could Steve be any more annoying? Steve sighed when he heard Jeremy hang up. Jeremy was really closed off. Lying flat on the bed, Steve narrowed his eyes. He could not help but smile. He did not know if there was a pinhole camera in Jeremy's room the way there was in his own. Meanwhile, in Jeremy's suite next door, Jeremy was blow-drying his hair. When his hair was almost dry, he sat on the sofa to rest. He looked around the room and counted the cameras he noticed. 1, 2, 3, 4. They were all the latest models, used even by the military according to his Google search. They were all concealed and had night vision functions. Jeremy's lips curled up slightly. He took out a laptop from his suitcase. The camera could not see his screen, so he quickly installed a drive and used it to carry out an anti-Renaissance mission. Somehow, he was able to tap into the pinhole camera's network and see himself on the screen, as well as multiple other people in other rooms who were being watched. Looking at one figure on his screen, Jeremy's lips curved up slightly. Although he could not hear any sound in the video, he could see who was spying on him. This was a new face. He seemed like a lackey. He was wearing a hat that obscured his features, but he appeared to be in his early 20s and had delicate facial features. There was a mole under the right corner of his eye. He had a buzz cut and wore a light green shirt. He was wearing an earpiece and listening attentively. He seemed to be saying something, as if reporting information to someone else. Jeremy frowned slightly. It was a pity that he did not have a good grasp of lip reading. He did not know what the other party was talking about. He only roughly knew about the other party was reporting back the situation of the 7 families. Jeremy could see that the person in suite 1701 had removed their cameras. The person in 1702 was playing with the computer, while the person in 1703 was Steve. The people in 1704 were reading documents. Jeremy pressed a video button and recorded the scene on the screen, preparing to analyze it slowly. He had other things to do now. After putting the laptop aside, Jeremy casually walked to a blind spot where he knew no cameras could see him and put on a suit. Then he left the hotel room. Meanwhile, a few doors down, Olivia read a book while listening to the sounds outside. After hearing the sound of a door being forcefully closed next door, Olivia could not help but think of Steve's words warning her to be careful. She subconsciously shrank back. It was always a strange thing to have a deviant living next door. At the same time, downstairs in the hotel lobby, Chris and Sven were checking in. I really didn't expect the Kongs to be so rich. Their patriarch actually booked an entire top floor, including the presidential suite, for the representatives of the 7 families, so they could have privacy and security, Sven coyly said. They only have regular suites left. As he spoke, Sven couldn't help but think of the time when he first booked a room with Chris. It was when they were much younger, and he had been tasked with chaperoning Chris to New York for the first time. He quickly realized Chris was hard to keep track of back then, after the young man slipped away in the night and snuck into a nearby casino to play the slot machines. Look at us on a little boys' trip again together, Sven laughed. Hopefully, you won't get into too much trouble this time. Cut the crap. Chris glanced at him and said, Start working. Okay. He became more serious. He nodded and made an okay gesture with his hands. Let me check the room first before you enter, once we get up there. The room is safe, okay? There are no surveillance cameras or eavesdroppers, Sven said after he entered the hotel room and double-checked it for bugs or listening devices. After saying this, Sven took out his laptop and sat beside Chris to connect his power cord to the wall. Okay, Chris said before he too connected his laptop to the power source and connected it to the wireless network to turn on the anti-detection port. Should I contact Dave Simon? Sven asked. Yes, Chris responded. He said, and ask Dave to find us the check-in information for Duke Lee. Tell him he's staying in a hotel in Philadelphia, so we just need to find out which one. All right. Sven opened the anti-detection port and sent an urgent mail to Dave Simon. He quickly received a reply. Dave replied. Oh? Chris stopped typing on his keyboard. I've also broken into the network of this hotel. Wow, you're not going to believe this. Duke Lee is staying in our hotel. Sven looked at the screenshot sent by Dave Simon and said, Suite 1711. 1711? Chris frowned. The entire top floor had been booked by the Kongs, but Duke Lee could stay in 1711. He must have actually been invited by the Kongs. But what did Duke Lee have to do with the Kongs or the Seven Families? Chris, check the hotel floor map. Where is Suite 1711? Sven asked. Chris looked at the hotel floor map on the back of its door. 1711 is across from 1701. Isn't that the other side of the hotel? Sven thought for a while and said, Do you want to find a way to get into his room? Now that the top floor has been booked by the Kongs, they will definitely have their security there. If we go there rashly without a plan, it will only cause trouble. Chris frowned. They still lacked a reason and an excuse to go to the top floor of the hotel. They weren't even technically supposed to be here. This is really hard to deal with. Sven frowned. I know. Chris nodded and started to hack into the hotel's network. Interesting. What's the matter? Sven asked in confusion. Other than us, there was someone else who hacked into the hotel's network and looked into all the rooms on the top floor. Chris's lips curled up. Was it Kong's security doing due diligence? Sven asked. No. Chris shook his head. The Kongs would not do such a thing. Who is it then? Sven thought about it and joked. Could it be that the seven families are turning on each other? Who knows? Chris smiled disdainfully. After so many years, it looked like maybe the seven big families would be repeating the tragedies of their past. In her suite, Olivia was tired. But just as she was about to fall asleep for a nap, her phone rang. Bruno's voice came through the phone. Liv, we will pick you up for dinner in a half an hour. No need. Olivia rubbed her eyes. I ran into a guy from my class, and I think I'm going to have dinner with him. Oh, all right then, Bruno replied. Just remember to go back to the hotel together after dinner so you don't wander the city alone. Call me if you need anything. No matter what, Michael had given Olivia to him now. If something happened to her here, how would he face his big brother? He would be the one held responsible. All right, Olivia responded. She was a little surprised by Bruno's enthusiasm for her safety. Not long after she hung up the phone in her hotel room rang. She picked it up. Liv, get ready. I'll take you out for dinner now if you're ready. Steve looked at the mirror in his room not far away and tidied his hair. Oh, okay. Olivia looked at the time. Give me 15 minutes. I will change my clothes. Don't be too beautiful. I will fall in love with you, Steve taunted. You are really hopeless, Olivia replied. See you later. Wait a minute, Steve asked. You didn't wander around today, did you? No, Olivia said. I was reading in my room. Oh, then be careful when you come out. Don't let him find you, Steve said with a wicked smile. Who? Olivia asked, curious. Jeremy. I saw Jeremy leaving earlier this afternoon. He's not back yet. Is that so? Steve did not know where Jeremy would go in this unfamiliar city. Maybe he went to hunt for girls. All right, anyways, you get ready and I'll wait for you in the elevator. Okay, see you later. Olivia hung up the phone and changed out of her casual clothes. She might run into people from the seven big families when she went out tonight. No matter what, she reminded herself she belonged. She was here as a descendant of her mother's family, the Parks. Her identity was also a Johnson, so she belonged as one of them too. After putting on some simple makeup, Olivia began to prepare the clothes she wanted to wear. She wore a milk-colored sweater, a short suede skirt, and a brown leather belt around her waist. Because the weather was still a little cold, she put on a cotton stockings and a pair of leather boots. Then she draped her hair over her shoulders and put on a painter's beret. Finally, she carried the Hermes bag that Michael had given to her to complete her outfit. Olivia stood in front of the mirror and looked at her clothes. She nodded in satisfaction and checked for the necessary items in her purse, phone, wallet, hotel key, and left after confirming that everything was indeed there. When she reached the elevator, she saw Steve, who was playing with his phone with his head down.
Steve, have you waited for a long time? Not long. Steve looked up at Olivia with a flash of surprise in his eyes. Wow. Didn't I tell you not to be too beautiful? Did you do this on purpose? Steve still couldn't help but tease her. Are you trying to woo me? Yeah, don't flatter yourself. Olivia rolled her eyes at him and pressed on the elevator on the left. Really, you do look nice. I felt pressure walking with you. I should have gotten more dressed up. Steve smiled and looked at the mirror of the elevator to tidy his clothes. If I'd known earlier, I definitely would have worn another coat. Haha, yeah, whatever. You're just talking nonsense. Olivia looked at Steve and shook her head helplessly. The elevator door on the right slowly opened, revealing 5 people. The 2 people in front were obviously very important, and the 3 people behind them were wearing black suits and sunglasses. They were clearly the bodyguards of these 2 people. Olivia sized up the 2 people in front of her. They looked to be around 17 or 18 years old. The young man on the left had long black hair and sky blue eyes. He had fair skin and wore a cold expression. The young man on the right had a faint smile on his face. He had short black hair, darker blue eyes, and delicate facial features. At first glance, he looked like a descendant of a prestigious family, though Olivia couldn't pinpoint which one. His temperament seemed more upbeat than his companions. In fact, he seemed sort of playful, like he had a mischievous secret. This was the first time Olivia had met someone who seemed this way, other than Chris. Olivia was sizing them up. They were also sizing up Olivia. Olivia? The young man with the lighter blue eyes said, This girl is the person in the photo I received, he thought. Olivia was startled when she read his thoughts. Hi, she said, hiding her shock as she reached out her hand. She was on this floor, so maybe it was normal that they would have seen her photo, she figured, since she was obviously from one of the 7 big families. Maybe it wasn't surprising that this guy knew who she was. Hello, I'm Duke Lee. The young man with lighter blue eyes shook Olivia's hand and nodded. Just call me Duke. Duke. Olivia smiled and nodded. Then she let go of the hand that was holding Duke Lee and turned to look at the other young man. Hello. The other young man stretched out his hand and held Olivia's hand. He looked at her with a complicated expression, as if he had finally found a precious treasure. Then he quickly looked away. Olivia looked at this gaze and felt that it was a little strange. She focused her mind to listen to the thoughts of these 2 people in front of her. However, she found that her ability had also lost its effect on these 2. In the last few days, her ability had come across blind spots again and again, and it made Olivia feel a little defeated, though she maintained her smile. Let's go, Duke Lee said to his friend and smiled at Olivia. Then, it took the lead to take a step forward. Excuse me, the second young man said as he left with Duke Lee. Let's go, Steve said. He looked at the 2 of them and then pulled Olivia into the elevator. Steve frowned slightly. These 2 people did not seem to be from the 7 great families. What were the Kongs up to? Just as the elevator door closed, the left elevator door opened. Jeremy walked out and saw the 5 people walking in front of him. He was puzzled. Why is Duke Lee here? He wondered.